Welcome to the home of the Conversations with Concerned Citizens podcast. Here we talk about real-world issues in hopes to come to a solution. We are a solution-based podcast. We are your hosts, the Lurker and Godmomma. Please hit the like and subscribe if you're new here. We'll start the show shortly. Conversations with Concerned Citizens podcast. The Conversations with Concerned Citizens podcast. The Conversations with Concerned Citizens podcast.
Ooh, and grand rising. Well, afternoon, depending on what part of no, it's still rising for almost everybody. So, grand rising, y'all. We are your host of the Concerned Citizens. I am the Lurker, and we have Godmomma. And today we're going to get into the Department of Government Efficiency. We're going to talk about Elon Musk.
In the room.
We're going to talk about Elon Musk today. We're going to see what's popping with that. There was another hearing where, they want to get Elon Musk out of here. Okay. And by they, I'm talking about the Democratic Party. I didn't see too many Republicans in that committee going against it. So they had a lot to say. It was like 11 hours long committee. We're not going to be playing all of that, y'all. We're really not. We are going to skim through some of it for y'all. We're going to listen together as a family. What's up, Kai Kai? Hi, C. Wilson. Where the hell you been? Long time no see, friend. Thank you for being here. Y'all hit the up like. But before we get into this congressional hearing, this subcommittee, before we get into that, I found a video kind of explaining a little bit of not really what Department of Government Efficiency is, but just kind of how it plays a role and why you really shouldn't get your panties in a bunch over it. So we're going to play that video. But before we do, let's catch this break, y'all. All right, y'all. Please hit the like and please subscribe. If you have a community wall, don't be shy. Share us out. We appreciate it. And before I do hop into this real quick, shout out to the love that we received yesterday. We didn't catch it until the show was over. Thank y'all for tapping that CashApp. We truly appreciate it. And join us, guys. That's right. We will always be grateful. So thank y'all for the continued support and stay with us on our road to monetization. Okay.
Because we are consistent, child. Here we are.
Okay. We're trying to. Okay. Listen, you show up. That's half the job, showing up. Okay. Right here, we have people are upset thinking Elon Musk is running the government. Well, I do not have a political science degree, so I don't really know all the ins and outs of how the government works. Okay. I'm just a citizen doing my part with tax-paying money. Okay. But let's listen. There's a gentleman here that will break it down for us what exactly Elon has kind of taken over. Let's listen, family.
Elon Musk, who nobody voted for.
Nobody voted for anybody in the executive branch except for the president and the vice president. There are about 2.2 million civilian workers in the executive branch, and 2 were voted for.
And the Department of Government Efficiency, that is not actually part of the government.
The Department of Government Efficiency, DOGE, is part of the government. While Donald Trump cannot unilaterally create a new federal agency with an executive order, he can rebrand an existing federal agency that is already funded, and that's what happened here. DOGE is a rebranding of the United States Digital Service, which was an agency created in 2014 during the Obama administration. And Trump adjusted its mission a little bit, but the dollars were already there. The president does have executive power to rebrand or rename agencies, move agencies in between different departments, adjust the mission of agencies, and also create temporary task forces to run agencies or be a part of agencies, which is why Trump has the authority to appoint Musk in a temporary task force within DOGE.
Has full access to the Federal Reserve payment systems, the federal treasury.
This shows that you don't really know what you're talking about, because the Federal Reserve System is not the same thing whatsoever as the Treasury Department's payment system. And DOGE has only been given very partial light access to the Treasury Department's payment system. The Federal Reserve System handles things like interbank transfers and EFTs and check clearing and make sure those go through well. The Treasury Department handles incoming and outgoing payments, payments to contractors, Medicare, Social Security, payments to federal employees. So no, they're not the same thing at all, and DOGE has not been given access to both of them. In fact, the access that DOGE has been given to the Treasury Department's payment system is basically 2 employees who have read-only access and are able to pass data about payments to DOGE.
System that controls payments through Medicare, Social Security, government contracts. Seem to remember Elon being the beneficiary of a lot of government contracts, but always wanting more anyway.
Yes, the federal government gave out almost $1 trillion in federal contracts last year, and a very tiny small percentage of that went to some of Elon Musk's companies, primarily SpaceX, because SpaceX is doing things technologically right now that no other company in the world is capable of pulling off. So Space Force is bringing SpaceX along to, for example, track ballistic missiles that might be coming at the United States. So no, SpaceX is not stealing money from other contractors who might be able to do the same thing. There's no one that can do what SpaceX is doing right now.
Wouldn't it be nice if he could just access those systems and withhold payments to his competitors, divert those funds to himself?
Yeah, it's fun to push conspiracy theories to your followers when they have no basis whatsoever in reality. Wouldn't it be fun if Elon could just go and push some buttons and divert some federal funds to his own companies because he has access to do that now? He doesn't have access to do that now. In fact, Elon himself can't even look at the Treasury system. He himself does not have access. There are 2 employees based in the Treasury Department who have read-only access, and they can pass some of that data to DOGE for government efficiency purposes. Elon has no ability whatsoever to divert funds or move funds or stop funds to Social Security. This is absolutely made up for clicks and attention.
Guys, what we have going on right now is a coup.
What we have going on right now is a 60-second video of fear-mongering from you that is mostly made up and rife with misinformation. Now, you can legitimately criticize DOGE, and you can legitimately criticize some of the access that Elon Musk has been given. But what you can't do is make things up and lie to make your side look better than it is. Now, I myself have significant problems with some of Elon's actions and some of the access that he's been given. But what I'm not going to do is sit here and lie to my followers and say that he can divert federal funds to his own companies when that's obviously not true. Or try to say that DOGE is an illegal shadow agency that's not really part of the government when that's also not true.
Donald Trump is not the president. Elon Musk is operating a shadow government. He has subverted the entire governmental apparatus of the United States. It is not hyperbole to say he has taken over this country.
This is hyperbole with no basis in reality, but sadly, many of your followers and viewers will believe this because they will not do any research of their own.
Bada bing, bada boom.
Do you remember? It's funny how he kept saying shadow government, because when Trump lost and Biden won, they called everybody conspiracy theorists and crazy people for saying we were ran by a shadow government. But now all of a sudden we're
Yeah.
run by a shadow government.
Yeah.
We've been telling people, the tinfoil hat people have been telling y'all, no matter if it's Trump, Elon Musk, Biden, it does not matter who sits in the seat. There's a shadow government behind it.
Yep. Yep. I mean, and it was a conspiracy to say deep state. Remember?
Mm-hmm.
That's a conspiracy. There's no deep state government. Oh, I guess there is now. Now that Trump and Vance, everybody's forgetting about Vance. They're like Elon.
Right, poor Vance. He's over in France right now, doing his VP thing, and nobody cares about him at all or what he got going on.
Yeah. Well, nobody cares what Vance is going. It's Trump. It's President Elon and his puppeteer Trump. They got funds to my Social Security. Well, y'all, I mean, it is what it is. Like that gentleman said, nobody except for the vice president and the president are the only two elected officials in the executive branch.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. 2.2 million people. Well, none of them were elected in. They were hired. Okay.
Right.
They were hired in. So we got to be mindful of that, you guys. And don't just take it at face value. Don't brain rot yourself to death. Okay. Don't take a 60-second clip and then go spread it to so-and-so, your neighbor, your barber, your hairstylist, your nail tech, the PTA members. Don't do that. Go do some research for it yourself. Or just dig deeper.
Mm-hmm.
That's all I ask.
That's our biggest issue, is we lazy when it comes to tracking down information.
Mm-hmm.
If it's on a reel, it's true. I don't care who said it, what topic at hand, it's the truth.
Mm-hmm.
And we're going to share it across the world. Nobody is going to sit and watch an 11-hour hearing, okay, to be able to come and tell you the facts, and even have the educational or experience background to know what they're talking about. Because
Mm-hmm.
half of the things, most of us don't know what we're talking about. We're just repeating rhetoric that we've heard over and over and over again.
Yeah.
Everybody's screaming, we didn't elect Elon, forgetting or didn't know that there's, what'd you say, 2 million other ones
Mm-hmm.
that
2.2.
nobody elected.
Right. Government elected, non-elected, if I can't even call them officials, just doing their job.
Right.
Like
how
I know
you do when you clock in. You do your job. You were hired
right.
to do a job.
Mm-hmm. And that's all Elon was done. He was assigned a task. What's up, Dougie Fresh? Hi, baby. Hi, baby. Hey, Stacy. Stacy's in the building. How you doing, mama? All right, y'all. Well, okay, hold on. We got C. Wilson. Well, prior to the establishment of the government entitled Doge, this was after the Edward Snowden back in 2013 revealed that the government was selling all American citizens information. Come on now.
That's facts.
Come on now. I love me some Snowden, and I also love Julian Assange. Okay? Wikipedia leaks, WikiLeaks. We love them over here. I'm all about a whistleblower. I really am. So yeah, y'all get comfortable. Okay, now, like Godmomma said, we ain't listening to no 11 hours of the House committee. This is insane. Y'all, 11 hours.
This
Oh
is
my
almost
God.
like, when the IRS calls you and they say, we're auditing you for the last 5 years. Get your stuff together. We want to see it. And you're losing your shit. Because there's some exemptions you've put on that tax, and you shouldn't have done that. There's some things you've written on there that you shouldn't have.
Mm-hmm.
And they're about to smack you on the hand, and you're
Mm-hmm.
about to pay the piper. And that's
Mm-hmm.
kind of like how this is going on from the outside looking in, right? It looks like y'all the people are scrambling because they're afraid of what's going to come out in the wash. And
Mm-hmm.
what's and per Doge Twitter, not so many good things have came out in the wash, and we'll get to that in a little while.
Mm-hmm. That's right, C. Wilson. He was labeled a traitor. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And remember when they were doing that hearing with, I can't recall who it was, but they were like, will you say that Snowden's a traitor? And they were like, he broke. Was that Tulsi? Was that Tulsi that she wouldn't call him a
I think
traitor?
so. I think so.
Maybe they were drunk. Why won't you just call him a traitor? And she's like, look, he did break the law. She wasn't going to call him a traitor though. So aren't they bugging out? Listen, even her face right here tells it all. Um,
Mm-hmm.
Y'all, we're just going to jump right into this because it's 11 hours. I'm going to share the link to this and put it in the chat. If you guys want to go back and watch 11 hours while you're at work or cleaning the house or washing your car or, cooking dinner, um, listen to what the other side is saying. I feel like it's only fair to hear both sides. Why don't they want Elon? Is it just because they're scared they're going to get found out? Or is there some other is there something else that we need to know? Um,
Mm-hmm.
and the only way we're going to find out, I'm not going to find out through the news outlets. What do they call it? Legacy media. No, you got to sit and listen to some of these committees
Mm-hmm.
because they're only going to summarize 11 hours into a 3-minute segment.
Yeah.
And then they're going to go on to talk about Kendrick and the Super Bowl and, they're going to move on. So you can't condense 11 hours. You're going to have to sit and listen to some of it. To come out. So I think I'm going to start around, I think I told Godmomma around the 6. Yeah, I think we'll start around here, around the 6-hour mark. And we're not going to listen to this all, y'all. We're going to be in and out. We're a little bit late today. This is just a quick brunch for us. And again, thank y'all for being here. Thank y'all for the support. And thank y'all for the up likes. We really appreciate it. But let's
it
get
helps our
into this.
channel move in the algorithm faster.
Mm-hmm. And this House committee, it's an oversight committee. So this has to do with our budgeting and what we got going on. Let's listen in, family. Y'all get comfortable.
Counseled by some
My
guy.
inquiry is to the chairman.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman.
Order. The inquiry is about decorum. Decorum is at the discretion of the chair.
That's
I will be
mansplaining,
honest,
Mr. Chairman.
with the ranking member. I'm not up to date on my politically correct LGBTQ terminology. We'll look into that and get back with you on that. I don't know what's offensive and what's not. I don't know much about pronouns or
I appreciate that,
offensive
Mr. Chairman.
terms.
Mr. Chairman, we don't have to
community.
anymore.
So,
I thank the chair for his willingness to further engage in this matter.
all right. Chair now recognize Ms. Norton from Washington, D.C. for 5 minutes.
Okay, my bad. What's up, Auntie? Shout out to the
Hey,
boiler room.
Auntie.
I was gonna say real quick, right before this had happened, they were I guess they were upset about how they need to pronouns and stuff. He, she, them, they. He's like, well, I need to get up to date on. And then you hear Nancy Mason background. We don't have to anymore, Senator.
We don't have to. And that, to me, that's the funniest part of it all. It's just, and it's not funny for the community, not one bit. I'm just saying it's just people's outrightness of it is what's hilarious to me, because we're in a committee and she's like, oh no, Trump said we ain't got to do that no more, so don't do it. Nope, you can be disrespectful if you want.
So they really do be having little panels back there at the committees.
Mm-hmm.
Brother Dimples. I go by Lady Dimples.
Right.
Child, if I would have known hearings, the committees were like this, we would have been blasting these committees. All right, we got somebody's got 5 minutes. Let's go.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is only the second oversight hearing this Congress. The first one was about denigrating federal employees. This one is about denigrating federal employees too. The Trump administration, including the Trump shadow government, seems intent on dismantling much of the federal government in violation of the Constitution, statutes, and regulations. The administration has relentlessly attacked federal employees, subjecting them to chaos and fear. The administration has imposed a hiring freeze, offered deferred resignation, fired employees, put employees on leave, effectively established Schedule F, and ended telework and remote work. Our two hearings so far are designed to lay the predicate to gut the nonpartisan federal civil service and to convert a significant portion of the remaining civil service into political appointees. Federal workers deserve praise for their expertise, dedication, and service, not derision. Thousands of civil federal servants have given their lives in the line of duty for the country. Instead of attacking federal employees, this committee should be considering bills to support the federal workforce, such as my bill to combat federal pay compression, or my bill to make permanent the free identity protection coverage that Congress required OPM to temporarily provide to individuals whose social service numbers were potentially compromised during the OPM data breaches. As I said at our last hearing, this committee can do better for the American people. And I yield back, Mr. Chairman.
The gentlelady, please yield to the ranking member.
Be glad to.
Chair recognizes ranking member.
I thank the
It
chair.
was 2 minutes and 10 seconds.
I thank the gentlelady. Dr. Resch, could you elaborate just a little bit more on your answer to the previous question about sort of unelected, superannuated appointees who are not subject to the advice and consent of the United States Senate and have arrogated apparently to themselves, either with or without the acquiescence or consent of the president himself, enormous powers? I mean, could you elaborate a little bit on that, on how unprecedented that is, and what are the dangers? What could go wrong with that? Why should we be concerned? And please speak louder into that microphone.
Yes, sir. So the problems that can arise from a lack of accountability are many, particularly in the form of DOJ. We see a person that is leading it that is entangled in billions upon dollars of federal contracts, has an empire that is regulated across various industries, across various agencies. Having a person that is potentially influencing where workforce cuts might take place without any transparency as to the decision making potentiates conflicts of interest, particularly in those domains in which he is regulated or in which he has contracts with various agencies.
And interestingly enough, you heard Governor Reynolds' testimony about her process. This is not how they did it in Iowa.
No, I'm very impressed with her reforms, but it had nothing to do with politically connected individuals deciding.
And one of the cautions I heard you say is we've got to also be concerned about conflicts of interest when that same individual, imbued with all these powers, has government contracts.
I would say that across the contract state, there are laws, but they are very weak in terms of regulating the extent to which political donations can be made by large contractors.
I thank the gentlelady for yielding.
Chair recognizes Mr. Grossman from Wisconsin.
Hold on here.
Thank you
because
much.
Shout out to Auntie in the home of the Y2 Purge, because we had a whole discussion about lobbying. What makes this any different than lobbying?
Right.
Because the lobbyers do the same thing. Pharmaceutical companies will lobby with their dollars and to back a specific candidate in hopes of pushing their product or their services or their idea. So what makes Elon Musk having government contracts any different than a political person in power working with lobbyists? There's no difference.
Right.
They're able to be bought and sold, but with him having government contracts, would he not work? Would that not be an incentive to still work inside your government?
Right.
instead of outside of the government, because lobbyists are usually outside sources, not inside sources.
Yeah. And I think that's what they're fearful of. They're fearful of that he's got outside and inside. I mean, that's the same way they were with Trump, but I laughed and joked about this yesterday when I was on the phone. I said, wasn't Trump the same? You know what I mean? Wasn't he getting tax cuts? Remember when him and Hillary were debating and she was like, he takes government handouts and he uses tax write-offs. And he said, I'm doing the same thing your donors do. I'm doing exactly what the same people who funded you do, Hillary. I did that too. So, I mean, if it was legal at the time, then it was legal at the time. Why wouldn't you take advantage of that? If I was a billionaire, why wouldn't I take advantage of tax breaks and all those things? It's legal at the time. And now that he's coming in and saying, you know, we need to look into this. Now it's a problem. As long as he was his mouth was shut, it wasn't a problem. But now he starts telling us what it really is. Even if it goes against him, he's still telling us, hey, this is what it is. Yes, I received those tax cuts. Yes, I received all those things for my $1 billion company. Sure did. And I used it. They didn't like that it was put out loud. That's it. Or again, this is from my point of view.
Right.
So, Auntie says the difference is that they cut out the middleman, the lobbyist, and can now go straight to the source, straight to the plug on some Frank Lucas type ish. Okay. But if it's going to save us money, take y'all asses straight to the source. It's about the American people. I don't give a damn about these corporations right now. No disrespect.
They're gonna get their tax cuts regardless because we no longer are a country. We are a corporation.
Yeah.
So the big corporations are gonna get their tax cuts. And I've heard people spew the theory that, you know, if the bigger man doesn't get taxed as much, he's not gonna take it out on the little man. And I can agree with that. If the CEO is not having to pay, instead of 5%, he pays 2%. He has 3% leeway to divvy it out amongst his employees or amongst his company if he's a legitimate, owner. But it's up to the people to decide whether you want to work for. That's your freedom now. You're not thrown on a plantation and forced to work. Your freedom is you can choose which plantation to go to.
Yeah. There you go, Godmomma. You could choose which plantation. It's going to be a plantation, but you have the right to choose which one.
You have the right to choose which one you want to deal with, period.
Oh, boy. Let's get to it, y'all.
A lot of other people have weighed in on Mr. Musk. So I felt I should weigh in on just as briefly. In another committee, we are waiting on an opportunity to publicize a study showing that on this transgender lifestyle, the more you talk about it, the more you get. And if you don't talk about it like they don't in Europe, there are not that many people going into it. And therefore, I'd like to thank Mr. Musk and Mr. Trump when they found out that we were talking about this stuff or apparently promoting it in other countries. They slammed the brakes on that agency really quick, which was, I think, the right and moral thing to do. And it's unfortunate the United States government was apparently engaging in activity that would increase the people choosing that lifestyle. Now, I was in the state legislature for many years before I got here, Governor Reynolds. And quite frankly, one of the reasons I ran for this job is again and again, I wanted to do things at the state level and was told I couldn't because it was federal law. I wonder if you can give us some examples.
Every year so that you don't have to have these special appropriations, supplemental appropriations that
away from the American.
I thank my colleague for yielding.
Pursuant to the previous order, Governor Reynolds is excused. And Governor, thank you so much for appearing here today. Chair now recognizes Mr. McGuire.
ask the governor a question, but I understand you have to go. But I just can't tell you how much our country is grateful to what you've done in Iowa. And I'm so excited that you're going to continue that type of efficiency and work with DOGE and with President Trump's administration. We have a great country, and it needs to make sense. And I love what you said. We need the best practices and the right people. Thank you. So my questions, I'll divert those questions a little bit. But first of all, I would say is that I don't think we can remind folks, especially folks on their side, enough is that through the grace of God, President Trump won a mandate on November 5th. He won the popular vote, the Electoral College, and the American people have spoken. I don't understand why every time he puts in an executive order or makes a decision, it surprises folks, because every decision I'm seeing is what he campaigned on, and that's what the American people voted for. I would tell you this, there is a war on common sense, and it's really an effort for all of us to bring our country back to common sense. We have to have a meritocracy. We have to have the right people in the right place, or people get killed. And we don't have time to go over all the examples. I would say, as a small business owner, if the government was a business, the government would be out of business. We are spending more per day than we bring in per day, and that is not sustainable. If the government were to build a car, first of all, it'd be it would cost overruns. It would cost $1 million, and nobody in this room would buy it. It is amazing what the free market can do and how innovative it is. We probably saw Elon Musk created this rocket for 10 times cheaper what it would cost the government to do the same thing. And I heard some folks on the other side talk about these young people involved in what's going on with our data. But I want to remind them that young people are very capable. You ought to research the ages of our founding fathers, like Thomas Jefferson, when they created this amazing country. But if you look at the young people, saved the world during World War II on the Normandy beaches from Nazism. So young people are quite capable, and if you have the bright young minds, I don't care. I got to tell you, as a veteran, if you saved my life on the battlefield, I wouldn't care if you call yourself a Democrat, Republican, Independent. I don't care if you're young or old or pink or blue. We're all Americans, and we're in big trouble. And I think we're on the way to a sovereign debt crisis because we're spending so much. And I hear this talk, and we all know the government's not efficient. Corporate America and the corporate world is talking about how people perform better face-to-face in an office environment. And so we want to bring people back to work, yet folks on the other side are saying it's a terrible thing to bring people back to work. I got to tell you, people in my district have to go to work every day, and they don't understand why people who work in the government don't have to go back to work. We also heard a testimony in this committee about a week or so ago about a guy it took him 3 years to fire. I talked to a very, very successful businessman on breakfast yesterday, and he said if we have a guy who's not performing, we get rid of him in 3 minutes. We need to make the right decision. So my first question, and I apologize if I pronounced your name wrong, Mr. Schatz.
Yes, sir.
So thank you for your work to find ways to make the government more efficient. But I wish I could have asked this to the governor, but she had 3 presidential disasters declared in her state. And what are some things that you think we could have done better, more efficient, if we would have returned that power to the actual states or to the governors when they have these disasters?
Well, I think President Trump initially talked about eliminating FEMA, but then he said he would like to allocate that money back to the states. The first line in any kind of disaster is local officials. FEMA comes in late, takes a while to get the money. There's a lot of red tape. I think it's an area that absolutely needs to be examined. These are things, but by the way, the other way to address this is to set up a federal fund that Congress provides every year so that you don't have to have these special appropriations, supplemental appropriations that then add on other funding for things that have nothing to do with the initial disaster. A lot of states have these rainy day or reserve funds. I think that would address a different aspect of emergency spending, but it would also reduce the need to have FEMA run out there every time something happens.
That makes a lot of sense. When is the last time our government passed a budget for Congress?
It's only been done 4 times, I believe, since 1974.
Would you agree at the rate that we're growing government that we're in danger of a sovereign debt crisis?
Well, it's $36 trillion now, going to grow by $2 trillion annually over the next 10 years. And yes, everybody says, oh, when is it going to happen? But we're really robbing our children and grandchildren of their future when we keep doing this.
Yeah. If we could make one best decision to fix this, what would you do?
Oh, part of what this committee is doing today is determine which programs are essential, which are functions that only the government should be doing. And if the private sector can do it, President Reagan talked about the yellow pages test. Now there's no more yellow pages, but pretty common sense to have a business answer or have the private sector do something. Usually it's more efficient, or at least match them, see which performs better.
Thank you. I yield back.
Gentleman yields back. Chair recognizes Mr. Bell.
Thank you. Today marks just over 2 weeks since the Trump administration took office. In the last 16 days, we have witnessed an unprecedented full-blown attack on federal workers and the services they provide to people at home in our districts, a power grab by the DOJ and unelected officials like Elon Musk that have the ear of the president. So to my colleagues, I'm not surprised by the president's executive orders, but as a prosecutor, the rule of law matters. I hear about telework and we need to get people back to work, but several of my colleagues and myself went to USAID and the administration had told them to telework and to stay home. So I'm a bit confused on the value or of these arguments or what have you. The president has instituted a hiring freeze, slapped federal workplaces with hostile and counterproductive policy changes, took action to potentially purge large swaths of the federal workforce and weaponize career professionals by threatening involuntary reassignments. Trump also sent federal employees an email offering them free pay and benefits until September 2025 if they agree to resign by February 6th. Dr. Resch, will this approach lead to the retention of our best and brightest federal workers?
No, it will not. When they have blanket fires again, the people who stay are likely to be the poorest performers. The ones that go under those conditions are likely to be those that are more competitive on an occupational job market. And so therefore, it will likely lead to brain drain as opposed to the retention of the best employees.
And let me ask you this. What would accepting this offer mean for federal workers across the country, including the nearly 13,000 federal workers in my district?
Well, first of all, I'm not sure that accepting it is legal in terms of saying that if you don't do it by February 6th, but if you do it, that you will have be put on administrative leave and paid through September 30th. I believe the cap on any type of action like that is $20,000. That would not meet the several months that most employees are using.
Trump also took
Sorry.
That's okay. Trump also took the unprecedented and illegal move of freezing trillions of dollars in federal funding, throwing the entire country into chaos. I spoke with Dr. Kendra Holmes, head of Affinia Healthcare, who feared that this would impact their ability to provide essential and critical care at their community health centers. I spoke with Dwayne Butler, the CEO of People's Health Centers in St. Louis, who said the action would have a significant adverse impact on not only healthcare centers, but so many other federally funded companies and programs. The Missouri Department of Elementary and Secondary Education had to pause payments to daycare providers, and school districts in St. Louis County were concerned about their ability to feed and support their students. Dr. Resch, do the administration's actions reflect standard operating procedure for right-sizing our government?
No, they do not. In fact, they increase inefficiencies. Many of our partners, whether they be private sector partners, universities, nonprofits, first of all, have to also pause their operations. They have uncertainty in the reliability of the federal government as a partner. And I think that's enough to get the picture.
Our federal workers go to work every day dedicated to serving the American people. They are the reason that communities across the country receive critical federal funds that support healthcare, safety, education, and infrastructure. They deliver congressionally mandated services and administer congressionally directed funds. The Trump administration should be supporting them in their mission to deliver the best possible services to the American people, not making that mission impossible. We cannot and will not allow a takeover of our government or our democracy. Thank you, and I yield my time to the ranking member.
I thank the gentleman for what he just said, and I know that my constituents as well as his who work for the federal government appreciate it. Thank you.
Chair recognizes Mr. Gill from Texas.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you for putting on this hearing. You know what? It's great to be on the side of the aisle after having won a massive mandate from the American people. President Trump, of course, winning not only the Electoral College, but the popular vote, delivering us a majority in the House and in the Senate. It's kind of funny to me because we've seen such outrage over Doge as if this is something that's new. Whenever I've been talking to my constituents in North Texas for months and months and months about President Trump coming to the White House and getting Elon Musk involved in cleaning up waste in our federal government, it seems to me that leftists are apoplectic not because our tax dollars are being wasted on idiotic things, but because all of it is being exposed all of the sudden, which I think is certainly a beautiful thing. So much of this government waste has been operating in the shadows where the American people don't know about it and has been largely unaccounted for. And so many of these programs wouldn't exist and will not exist now that they're being exposed. I could give so many examples of wasteful spending, but I'd like to name just a few and get y'all's opinion on these. Just recently, the Department of Health and Human Services spent over $400,000 studying whether lonely rats seek cocaine more often than happy rats do. Mr. Schatz, thank you for being here. I'd like to ask you, do you think that that's a responsible use of taxpayer dollars?
No, it's not. And those are the examples that get people interested in doing more about wasteful spending. They're silly, but it's where their money is going.
That's exactly right. And Mr. Resch, let me ask you, do you think that it is responsible for the federal government to tax working class American citizens to pay for studies that cost over $400,000 asking whether lonely rats seek cocaine more often than happy rats do?
I have no position on that particular policy. I would need to know more.
You have no position on whether we should be spending taxpayer dollars getting rats high on cocaine?
I know that addiction is an important problem. And if it leads to insights that lead to reductions in addiction, I'm sure that it has a multiplying effect. If that's the case, you would have to see the indicator.
I agree, and I'm going to reclaim my time here. I agree that addiction is a very serious problem, but I doubt that the plumbers and electricians and working class citizens of North Texas that I represent are going to be very happy whenever they find out that they're paying to get rats high. Let me give you another example. We've recently spent $123,000 to teach youth in Kyrgyzstan how to go viral. Mr. Schatz, do you think that that's a good use of taxpayer dollars?
No, I don't.
I don't either. What about you, Mr. Resch?
No position.
No position. Okay. Got it. Let's do another one then. We've recently spent over $3 million from the Department of State for girl-centered climate action. Mr. Schatz, is that an appropriate use of our tax dollars?
I don't think so.
Mr. Resch?
No position.
No position. Got it. What about, over the past 4 years, the United States has had a grotesque border crisis that was created by the federal government in the Biden administration. Nevertheless, we've spent over $2 million for border security in Paraguay. Mr. Schatz, let me ask you, do you think that that is an appropriate use given the context of American taxpayer dollars?
Well, only if it impacted immigrants or whatever you want to call them, people coming to the United States illegally. That might have some merit, but depends on the purpose.
I agree. What about you, Mr. Resch?
Again, depends on the purpose and the outcome.
Got it. I think that's incredibly enlightening. You know, over the past couple weeks, really, we have seen all of the nonsensical areas that our tax dollars have gone to. We found that our taxpayer dollars, we just found out today, are being sent to left-wing media outlets like Politico and the BBC. We've known for a long time that our tax dollars are funding NPR and PBS. We've seen our tax dollars go to left-wing NGOs, and I think that the takeaway is that large portions of the left's institutional ecosystem are dependent upon taxpayer subsidies. And I think that that's a problem. I'm thrilled Doge is here because we're going to get rid of it. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I yield my time.
Gentleman yields back. Chair recognizes Ms. Simon.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair and Ranking Member, and thank you, witnesses, for coming to speak with us today. I really appreciate the conversation, and like much of the testimony and conversations I'm hoping to have and hear during my time in oversight, I think that there are spaces where we should
absolutely
all agree government should be more efficient. Absolutely. As someone who went through college and had to bring my baby to childcare, I get it. I understand. And I remember when that childcare was shut down, I couldn't go to class. I couldn't go to my night job. I get it. I am right there with so much of the conversation. What's interesting, though, to me is last week when I returned to district, I went to go visit, like many members, organizations that are providing work on the ground for almost vulnerable populations. I was prepared to offer a check that an organization, East Bay Asian Local Development Corporation, had earned through a grant process to extend housing to elderly Asian Americans in the East Bay. Again, these are the descendants of the folks who built the West. Elderly folks seeking and needing low-income housing. Clearly, they're not going to get that money right now. Housing is on the line, as is childcare, as is Medicaid, as is Medicare. After this meeting, I will go and visit the president of a children's hospital. He's in my office right now, and I went to go literally sit with the folks in the NICU last week. Care is in jeopardy. There is a heart transplant that is in jeopardy. A small child. I would like for us to look at in the faces of that parent. What's really interesting to me, I actually have a question for you, Dr. Rush. Like you, I've had this amazing benefit to study government budgeting. I have an MPA with a focus on municipal and federal finance. I have a lot to learn, as we all do. But in understanding where we are in this push by Doge and our colleagues to look at government spending, which I agree we got to figure it out. I'm curious, because this ripoff we're talking about, again, halting essential services for people to live in communities where there is waste, let's get rid of it, but by freezing basic services, I want to ask you this. By weakening the country's social service structure within a week, causing chaos, would you agree with me that instead of going after the Department of Education, again, if you have a young woman in college and she is abused, the Department of Education has an infrastructure to investigate that rape. I can go on and on, they do. We get rid of the Department of Ed, what happens there? Instead of going after the Department of Ed and USAID, wouldn't it make a lot of sense for us to think about other areas that are right in our face? Listen, the constituents of California's 12th district are paying over $6 billion in tax dollars for DOD. That could pay for 35,000 registered nurses per year and salaries of 50,000 elementary school teachers. If we're serious, sir, about right-sizing our government, I would recommend that we start there in an institution, in a department that has failed 7 audits with an estimated multi-trillion dollars of waste and abuse in contracts that go to private companies. Would love to know, Dr. Rash, your thoughts on where we should start.
Congresswoman, thank you for the question. I'd just like to note that throughout this testimony, I've been asked questions about a very, very insignificant proportion of our federal budget, and that is domestic discretionary spending. If the committee is serious about right-sizing government in terms of dollars, then it should not. That's very tiny proportion of our overall federal budget has seemed to be the focus throughout this meeting. $14,000 grant to something through AID is nothing compared to the non-discretionary funds. But if we were talking about the Department of Defense, it is not subject to some of the same scrutiny as well as these programs that offer social services, so on down the line.
Thank you to all the witnesses. Thank you to all the witnesses that came today, and thank you, Dr. Rash, for your answer. I yield back.
Chair recognizes Mr. Jack from Georgia.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
That
and thank
was
you for
an
letting me get a
answer?
little exercise
I
this morning. I appreciate that.
No, I'm just saying I didn't. That was an answer to
Yeah.
everything she just said. That was an answer. That sounded like word salad. Like what? So just because it's $400,000, the taxpayer who Kylie mentioned in the chat is the middle class American, right?
That's right.
They don't care about $400,000. Boy, you're sick in the head. Okay,
Right.
you're paying $400,000 to get animals high when you want to lock up adults for getting high. Like, get out of my face with this.
I'm talking about a lonely rat. Boy, if y'all missed it yesterday, we went down a
Oh
boy, taxpayers spending on transgender testing on animals. Oh boy. Yesterday was a rough one.
It was rough.
This is light work compared to yesterday. They're shoving
Yes.
marbles and they're,
Cannibalism. It was
cannibal
just
a
awful.
lot. It was a lot yesterday. So StreamYard just gave me a notification saying they are having once again issues. So this might just be audio only, y'all. My apologies. StreamYard, do better. Do better.
Right.
What's up, Reeve? Hi, baby. Hi, Lovey.
We're trying.
Someone else come in that I didn't speak to. I'm sorry if y'all came in and I didn't speak. But I'll send shout outs as we close out. But hey, y'all,
Yeah.
thank y'all for being here. Come on
And
in.
I'm loving y'all's participation in the chat. Thank you.
Yeah, y'all in there getting it. And I agree with y'all. But this is what we need, right? We it's a group effort. Okay. Oh, speaking of group effort, we got Sinister in the building. What's up, Sinister?
Hey, what's up? I just saw I just seen y'all was live. I was like, oh shit. I forgot
Yeah.
she said she was going live today.
We're doing the Department of Government Efficiency where they're discussing this is an oversight hearing. So they want to know what we're getting into it.
You know what was been on my mind this morning?
What's that?
When Kamala said, because in all them interviews where she wasn't really giving nobody no information or anything, and she was just making bland, bogus ass statements. At one point, she repeated 3 times consecutively, the rich are gonna pay their fair share. The rich need to pay their fair share. The rich. It's like at this point, I'm taking it as they were saying, we robbing y'all of so much. Don't y'all at least want us to rob them a little more too? Don't y'all want them? Y'all want them to pay their fair share? No. You mean rob them of their fair share? That's how I'm taking it now. Because it's like y'all been stealing so much money from us. You want to employ taxes on them so then you can steal even more money from them. Because they stealing from everybody. And Godmomma's right. Yeah, y'all have been taking our money to get animals high and to get animals to eat each other for transgender comic books in other countries. This shit is pure lunacy. And yeah, like I said yesterday, I want some people to get arrested. But yeah, continue.
Yep. All right, let's get it, family.
I want to start by saying, throughout this hearing, I've heard over and over and over again from our colleagues on the other side, Elon Musk's name invoked. And to me, it rings very similar to what I experienced over the last 9 years I've worked for President Trump. It seems like the Democrat playbook from 2015 through 2025 has been to singularly target one individual and over and over repeat talking points against that individual. And some pre-political advice. In 2016, it didn't work. In 2020, House Republicans gained seats. In 22, we gained seats. In 24, Donald Trump delivered one of the most impressive historic landslide victories we've ever seen. And it's because he offers solutions to the American people, and that's exactly what we House Republicans are doing. I want to spend my time today engaging with Mr. Schatz, talking about a solution that I campaigned on, something that really resonated with the constituents across my district. And I'll predicate by noting I'm probably one of the few members on this committee who actually was a federal employee. From 2017 to 2021, I served in the Executive Office of the President as the President's White House political director. And one of the things that I was tasked with while working for the President was helping move departments and agencies outside of Washington, D.C., so that they could be headquartered in areas that are more reflective of the people they're targeting to or designed to serve. And Mr. Schatz, in your testimony, I very much appreciated you noting that 17 of the 24 agencies only use an average of 25% of agency headquarters office space. The American taxpayer is paying for office space that is not being used. And it's one of the things that I'm very passionate about. In 2019, we relocated large agencies from the Department of the Interior to Colorado, and we found a lot of success in doing so. So I just would love to get your thoughts and comments on that. I think that's an innovative solution that this Congress can move forward, and something President Trump campaigned on. And I'm so proud the American people gave him the victory and affirmation for that.
Well, thank you, Congressman. And we completely agree with that concept, because it would enable the federal government to work more closely with state agencies that in many cases perform a lot of the same functions. And that's another form of duplication. That isn't necessarily turning those functions over to the states, but it is determining where it might be more effective and more efficient and deliver those services. And just briefly, the objective of an agency should be to deliver a service to someone, period, right? And then determine how that gets done, and then determine how much it costs. And the reverse is true. It's spend the money. If that doesn't work, spend more money. Don't take the time to figure out what works. This would be very helpful to reaching that conclusion.
Well, in that vein, and as my esteemed colleague to my left, Mr. Gill, noted, all the programs that were all the money previously spent by USAID, I have to imagine the people of Texas's 26th congressional district or Georgia's 3rd congressional district would not have made those decisions had they been employees at that agency headquarters. And in that vein, I just want to also note for the record, you'd have to drive an hour from where we sit right now to reach a precinct that voted for President Trump. Yet, of course, we saw a landslide victory across our country. To me, you need a federal workforce that's reflective of the balance that America is. And in this general area, we've got 95% Democrat participation in elections. To me, that's from where our federal workforce is coming. That's why we have so many problems that we've discussed here today. I also want to note, Mr. Schatz, your leadership at Citizens Against Government Waste has led to trillions of dollars of savings for Americans. You've done an incredible service to your country. And I just want to close with a final question to you. Based on your wealth and knowledge and experience, what are the most prominent patterns or locations that you find waste, fraud, and abuse in our federal government? Any advice to the committee before I finish?
Well, it runs across all agencies. And I would note on the Department of Defense, when the Grace Commission made its recommendations and found $424.4 billion in savings, 25% of that was in the Department of Defense. As has been noted, they failed an audit. Joint Strike Fighter is pretty much of a mess. Less than half, about 55% of them are available for use. So the procurement system needs a lot of reform. Information technology, 80% of the systems are legacy systems, and some of them, they're so old you can't find people to fix them or service them. And that's an investment, in our view, that's worth making. Upgrade those systems, and then people will be able to find out from the click of a button, what's going on with their money, and that would be extremely helpful for transparency, accountability, and more efficiency.
Well, I'm grateful for your testimony today. I hope every committee member reads all the innovative solutions that you've offered us, and likewise, I hope my colleagues join me in helping relocate our departments and agencies outside of Washington, D.C. I yield back to our distinguished chairman, Mr. Comer.
Gentleman yields back. Chair recognizes Mr. Min from California.
Mr. Schatz. Pause. I just don't see the issue. I know he said, the federal agency buildings are not full. Well, if that many people want to work remotely, then you would just downsize the building,
Yeah,
which
that's
would
a
in turn cut taxes. Like, I don't understand why that's
not an option.
right, or not even I don't know.
A thought. That's another thing too that we're paying on these leased buildings like quite a bit. I don't have the numbers in front of
Mm-hmm.
me, but we are paying quite a bit on unused building leases. And in some cases, we'll save that for another. Well, no, we're on Doge. We're on the taxes. Okay. There was another building that had been vacant from like 2017 or something, and it was like one of the tax buildings. And I think it was like out of Colorado or something. It wasn't like a federal. It is a federal government building, but it wasn't in DC. And so they were like, this really looks like a money laundering situation. And
Doesn't
I'll
it?
have to pull that up as well. Nikki, in the chat, I did put a link for the Trump blocks trans comic book in Peru, and I think the amount on that, it wasn't billions. I think it was like 32,000 or something. But that doesn't matter. The price doesn't matter how much they're spending on it. It's the fact that it's even available, and why are we doing it as
Right.
a government entity. Now, if you're a private entity and you want to send out, if you're a nonprofit for trans and you want to
Right.
send out stuff, cool, do you. But it shouldn't come out of our pockets, the taxpayers. It doesn't matter if you're a corporate taxpayer or a civilian taxpayer. That's fucking
Mm-hmm.
unnecessary use. The pottery classes, the $2 million for Moroccan pottery classes, the $50 million for Gaza condoms. Y'all, there is an issue with our government spending.
Don't
Period.
forget the 330 million for them fucking poppy flowers, which
Oh yes,
produces
the
opiates.
Afghanistan farmers
Fuck that.
received aid, and their biggest yield and crop was poppy. Afghanistan heroin is off the charts. They outdo China's heroin. Okay.
Yep.
So
Yeah, yesterday during the show I had to hop off, and I had missed something, but Godmomma caught it, and it's kind of been on my mind ever since. What was it? They were taking pieces and tissues of aborted fetuses and putting them inside animals or
oh yeah,
dead
we all
animals.
got that. Yeah, we all got that. What the hell?
Oh
Yeah, we
yeah,
got that
'cause
shit.
I thought I was tripping, but Godmomma had caught that shit, and so I was thinking to myself, it was like, honestly, at this point, to me, if you are any level of feminist and you're with the whole pro-choice thing, you shouldn't have an opinion on that shit at all. You should never speak on that shit at all, because according to you, it was never a child. According to you, it's a fetus, which is Latin for child or children. But let's not get into that. If you are any sort of feminist, or you're with the pro-choice and keep your minds off, or keep your laws off of our bodies and all that shit, don't ever speak on that. If you're any sort of feminist, don't ever speak on that. Because you shouldn't, because according to you, it was never a child. So it shouldn't seem like something that's an abomination. It shouldn't seem like anything that's demonic. It shouldn't seem evil. It shouldn't seem wrong at all.
Mm-hmm.
Straight up.
That's it. Now that's a good point. I don't know if I agree, but that's an interesting good point to bring up, Salt.
Why
if you
don't
are
you?
pro? Well, I mean, because if you, I'm just from an NAB's perspective, just because she don't want the child, don't mean. I guess she's in my mind. I'm thinking, I don't want the baby, so nobody else should have the baby. You know what I mean? Like, just because I chose to terminate that pregnancy doesn't mean I'm giving you the okay for you to use it as you see fit. You know, so
I don't understand that.
Well, you're thinking like, okay, if you want to discard the baby, it shouldn't matter what happens to the child afterwards, the fetus. Right?
Well, yeah, because by you terminating the child, you're saying screw this kid's existence. So why do you care about its existence after you've already given it up? Does that make sense? It's like why does what's left of its existence, which is just its body now? Why is what's left? Why does that matter to you now? Why are you trying to have some sort of moral high ground now on it? That's why I say, if you on that pro-life shit, you shouldn't even be bothered by that at all. And if you are bothered, shut the fuck up. Don't speak on it. Fuck you and your opinion.
Well, let
Straight
me hit
up.
you with it. Well, let me hit you with this, because some people who don't want to have kids, they give them up for adoption. Should they not care that that child is well taken care of after the adoption? Should they not, if they heard on the news 20 years ago, the baby I gave up for adoption was sold as a sex slave, you don't think you should feel some type of way about that?
I'm sure they feel guilty. The thing is, they still didn't abort the child. They chose to, okay, well, you're not going to be with me, but you're still going to live. So to find out, to feel guilt afterward, to me, if you give your child up for adoption because you know you can't provide a life for it, or even you just know you're not going to be a good parent, that's a whole lot better, giving your child up and hoping that someone will take care of it better than you can, than just saying, you know what, I don't even want to give you a shot at life. Let me go ahead and end your life right now. And then, yeah, because it's my right to choose. You're not a life of your own. You're just a part of me, quote unquote. You're just a part of me right now. And so I could do whatever I want to with my body, even though they're going in with tools to remove parts of your body to end your life. That's how I feel about it. Or that's not that. Yeah, that's how I feel about it.
Okay. And we love to hear that you expressed how you feel about that. We love that. Interesting point. I'll have to marinate on that, Salt, because it just hit me like, well, what if people give up adoption? You know, they shouldn't care if that child was mistreated.
But what you said though, I do agree with. Yeah, it was only 32,000, whatever. The fact that any of my money is going to any of this bullshit, I don't give a fuck if it was just $5 to make a kitten a pair of mittens. No, that's not what my money should be fucking going to. That's stupid. And then they feeding kittens dead cats, and then seeing what happens, and when nothing happens, they off those kittens and then make more and do the same thing over and over. Okay, I understand the scientific method of trial and error, but okay, trial and error. What is it that you're hoping to accomplish by feeding cats to other kittens?
Right.
What do you like? Yeah, science is science, but it's like certain science is just plain stupid. Certain science should make sense. It should be logical. What the fuck are you gonna get out of feeding cats to other cats? If I walk into a farm with a big ass bag of beef jerky and start feeding the cows, and I do that every day for 10 years and nothing fucking happens, that's just a big ass waste of time and waste of money and waste of jerky.
Yeah. I agree.
And why would you even want to do, I don't understand.
Right?
I always thought that it's just weird and kind of like Dr. Frankenstein type vibe. Like,
absolutely.
You're just doing weirdo shit just because you have the ability to do it. No, take that money away from them. We're sitting here. We just watched last week about the Department of Education, and how they need money. They need money. The products that are coming out of the Department of Education are not producting. So we need money. Take that 400,000 that you spent seeing if lonely rats preferred cocaine, and put it in the department, all of the money, sweep it where it's supposed to go. And that should not be an issue with anyone.
But it's like you said, it's like some of the shit does seem like, okay, I get everybody's seen the show, but to me, the show isn't better than a movie I saw. There was this movie I saw on Amazon Prime called My Friend Dahmer. It's about the life of Jeffrey Dahmer before the killings. And in that show, his dad apparently had made some sort of shack for him for his quote unquote experiments. He did all kind of things to little animals, kind of weird, crazy shit. And I'm just like, okay, I get that we're supposed to hold the government to a certain standard, but they need to up that standard. Some of these scientists, some of these people doing all these experiments, they need to have like an evaluation. I say every fucking 90 days. I need for their experiments, whatever it is they're doing, to be looked at by whoever's evaluating them and saying, okay, what exactly are you hoping to accomplish by feeding these kittens their dead parents? What are you thinking? What are you hoping that will come out of this? And like, at which point do you plan to stop? Because they've been doing that shit for a while. So it's like, yeah, like some of that shit is kind of on some Dr. Frankenstein shit. It's like, do you can't think of any other experiments? Like you can't try to create a new battery or something. It's like, nah, we got 100 kittens over here. We could do something with this. Like, what the fuck?
And see, like they say, well, they study animals to try to get answers to human issues, right? What little children do you know or have heard stories of that just say, oh, I'm going to eat my parents? That rarely ever happens. And the case in that case would be the parent dies in the home and there's nothing in the home to eat. The child cannot get out of the house and they're just literally starving and they have no other choice.
Survival mode kicks in.
Right.
I see what 504 put. So does he agree with body autonomy because it affects men also? Yeah. I definitely agree with it. It's like any and every single one of you men or women who decided to have children and it came out a boy and you decided to circumcise that little boy, you fucking butchered him. Something is wrong with you. You should not have done that. Straight up. I don't give a fuck. I don't give a fuck who you are, whatever you think or anything. And this ain't me coming at 504. Now I actually 504 is one of the only few people I actually like around here. But it's that's what I think about it. It's fucking butchery. If you I used to have a different opinion on it, but I understand if you're like a mother and you already have kids and you're pregnant with another one, because me and Godmomma had this conversation. If you're pregnant with another one, they're telling you go through with this pregnancy, it's going to kill you, but the kid might live. It's like, I can understand you doing that. My thing is, no matter what you decide, if that child loses its life and it's because of you, okay, you got kids, I understand that. I'll pray for you. The fact of the matter is, you're going to have a short conversation with God once you and him are face to face. Doesn't matter the reason. That's just the way it is.
Yeah.
But I agree. Yeah.
Okay.
Body autonomy. I understand. It's just people terminating their kids because it's inconvenient. Oh well, I was supposed to take a trip to the Bahamas next year, and this is gonna fuck that up. Let me just go get this abortion real quick. And you got women on here giving confessions on YouTube and Instagram talking about how they done had a couple of abortions and they ain't even 25 yet.
Well, some won't do it just for vacation. Some will do it to excel themselves in careers.
Yes. Or what about that trans nigga who said he wanted to become a woman to try to get pregnant so he could be the first trans person to have an abortion? It's like, what road do you think you're paving with doing that? Let's become women so we can kill children? Okay.
You know, I just to Nikki's comment, I don't think I can find that validity ever in shoving marbles up kitties' booty holes.
Using animals. Hold
on, family. Hold on. Before we get to Nikki's, I know I highlighted it because I wanted to save it. But before we get to Nikki's, I wanted to come over here with the mad cow disease because it correlates with what she just put up about cows get mad cow disease from eating. Cows are predominantly herbivores. Only in certain instances will they go to
eat
meat.
each other.
So then when we come here, conflating a sick person with using animals for self-gratification is not the same as using them to learn from. Correct. But when we are doing just, I want to fill this rat with testosterone, which we heard yesterday. They'll fill a rat with testosterone, and then they will see if GHB or whatever that date rape drug is, they'll see if that affects the rat differently. Some of this shit is unnecessary, y'all. Some of this testing is cruel and unusual.
A lot of these scientists went to school for many years to be able to do what it is they do, which means that they clearly love what it is they do. That is some Frankenstein shit. What exactly are you hoping to accomplish by getting that? It's like, to me, if you love your job and your job is to do some sick shit, you're a sick person. You're up there with Dahmer to me. It really doesn't matter. What? Oh, we found out mad cow disease. Oh, okay. Let's see if there's a mad cat disease. Yeah, because that's what people have been thinking about for decades. Can we get this from cats? Can cats also do it? Yeah, because that's what's been on everybody's minds. That's what all our money should be going to, finding out if we can get mad cat disease.
Okay, and
I
you're
just,
right.
I just don't feel.
Oh, go ahead.
Like it. No, I'm just saying it. There are some things, yes, and this is not to say cut my perspective is not to say cut every single spending when it comes to testing animals and this, that, and the third. However, I just don't see any useful information in putting marbles in cats' booty holes. I don't see any useful information coming out of making rats obese and then filling the room full of smoke to see how long they last. Like, none of those. We know if you're obese and overweight and the room fills up with smoke, a human is going to know to move around.
Well, and it doesn't even matter if you're obese. Skinny people die from smoke inhalation too.
That's what I'm saying. Like some of it is just I as a person who would pay taxes would say, yeah, no, that's not what I want to pay a lot my tax dollars to. And it goes all the way back full circle to at the beginning of the live, people stating we didn't elect Elon Musk. We don't elect half of the things our money goes to either.
There you go.
They don't send out a emergency text message because they opened up that network, right, where they can hit everybody's phone. Right. They don't send something to your phone saying, hey, such and such wants to take 0.5% of your tax dollar to go towards this, and this is what it is, and da 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 da. Do you agree or disagree? They don't do none of that shit. So no, none of the things other than do we vote on? None.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's what it comes down to, y'all, is we have let these hidden, I don't want to call, the deep state, whatever, the government, we've let them run rampant with our money, and they don't have a cap or a stop. Nikki keeps pointing out, what's the point? What does she says? She said, Salt, you're asking the correct question though. Why, to what end? That's exactly the point. We don't know the point.
Right.
We don't know the point on this animal testing, but it doesn't take a rocket scientist to know that this is cruel and unusual punishment. And like Kylie's saying, I'm not sure if it was 9 out of 10 or 8 out of 10, but the animal testing doesn't even correlate over to humans. Different DNAs, different genetics. I mean, it just doesn't. So there's a lot going on where our money could just be used elsewhere. That's what we're here for, y'all. If the testing is going to benefit us, then give us the say so on what we want to spend testing on. This is a problem. Right. We need to do further testing. American people, are y'all cool with that?
Right.
Honestly,
and this wouldn't be, I'm going to say this and then I'll pass it to you. This wouldn't be the first time that we have come to the awareness that information we've been pumped for so long is false.
Right.
Because how many people know that 9 out of 10 testing, it doesn't even work. Only one works out of 10. Only one. So therefore, testing on animals is not the solution.
Right.
Okay. Sorry.
Well, honestly, I would say probably about 95% of these places where they're doing all these testing and everything, they need to assemble some sort of crack team together to go and look at the facility where each and every single one of these experiments is taking place. Look at the facility. Look at how much they have. Look at how much equipment they actually have. Look at how many animals they actually have. All this shit, because just like Lurker pointed out, how they got all these buildings that are for lease, but they ain't using them. But our tax money's going to them. You know why? And that's why I say, look at these facilities. Okay, how much did they spend on needles and shit? Oh, it says here they bought about I don't know $1,000 worth, but they wrote it off as 100,000. That's a racket. That's what they do with those. I guarantee you that's what they're doing with those empty buildings. Oh, we bought 100 desks at about what $400 a pop. They're supposed to be $400 a pop, but we spent $1,500 on each desk. That's how they wash the money. I guarantee you the majority of these facilities where they're doing any sort of testing, even the trans comic book shit, the pottery classes in Morocco, all that shit, wherever each and every single one of these things is supposed to take place, the actual location, send somebody to go and look at it. Like, oh, there's barely anything here. Okay, so where the fuck is the money? Because you said you bought this amount from over here. Where's the rest of the shit? You said you bought 100 chairs, but I only count 13 of them. That's how they wash money. That's exactly what the fuck it is they're doing. Because it's like, to me, logically, that's the only thing that can make sense as far as shoving marbles up cats' asses. Oh, we took 100 cats at $100 a pop, and we bought 1 billion marbles for about $1 million. That they're supposed to cost $1 million, but guess what? We somehow spent 100 million on some shit that's supposed to cost $1 million. I guarantee you that that's what the fuck it is that's going on, because some of it doesn't make so much sense to the point to where it's like I'm sorry to just hammer this point. Like What the fuck is a marble? What kind of marble was it? Was it a gold marble that you shoved up these cats' asses? Were they supposed to have some sort of, were you expecting allergic reaction? To what fucking point? The only thing I could think of is they're washing fucking money. Because really, billions, what did they say? They're spending about $1 billion a week. You said it's spending about spending $1 billion a week. That's a lot of fucking money. What did they say? If you get $1 every second for the next 33 years, that's how long it'll take to get $1 billion. That is a lot of fucking money to be spending a week. Oh no, these motherfuckers is lying in their own pockets. They still can't tell you how Joe Biden is rich now.
See, I'm going to tell you this, and this is y'all. Let me just say, a rabbit told me, or a bird, I don't care what y'all call it, a mouse, a bugle, came and told me, and I've known this for over a decade, that government contracts are the best contracts because they don't come in and really audit you for what you're spending. So like Salt said, I could charge if they say, oh, Lurker, we like your blah, 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 say I'm selling hairpins. We like your hairpins and they work great for the women in our Air Force. We want to do a contract. I can now surcharge the fuck out of them. They used to be $3, but now that I have a government contract, they're $16. And there's a lot of people who enjoy a good government contract. They prefer them, actually. If you are an independent contractor of some sort, and the government knocks on the door and says, hey, we want to work with you, you absolutely take that fucking contract and you fucking rape the fuck out of them. Now, are you in turn raping the fuck out of your neighbors and your future children or whatever and their Social Security? You sure are. But that's the greed of America. And it's unfortunate, but it's the truth. People in certain circles I've heard, like I said, Lil Bunny came and, they love a good government contract. They do. 504 hit us with this, and then we're going to get back to the House committee. But right here, she says, well, I can say that from animal testing, it has been found that llamas cannot contract HIV. So the DNA from them could be linked to stopping the epidemic in the future. I hear that, 504. I hear that. I also want to state HIV, wasn't that a man-made thing?
So they say. They injected all them people in Africa with it. That's why I said, for those of y'all who got that COVID vaccine, you shouldn't have done that. You really shouldn't have, because that's how a bunch of them people, especially them kids, got HIV in Africa. They were giving them quote unquote vaccines to other diseases, but it also held the HIV virus. So a lot of them ended up with it. And look, now all this shit's coming out about this new vaccine. I'm telling y'all, in about 5, 10, 15, maybe 20, 25 years, you're going to see some new weird form of cancer that they've never seen before. And they don't know where it came from, but it's going to turn out that everybody who got that fucking vaccine got that shit. It's not a coincidence. No, it's population control.
I hear you, Nikki. She's saying, oh, well, first Kylie says, being a homeowner, listen, and FEMA, you know what? We might bring FEMA tomorrow. I wasn't sure what show I was going to do. Oh, I'm doing RFK tomorrow. RFK might get signed in, and if we have time, we should go through FEMA. Yeah, we need to do FEMA because, baby, not only were they housing immigrants and denying us, that little curly-haired black lady that was the House Speaker or whatever, the secretary or whatever, she lied to us and was like, no, your FEMA isn't going to immigrants. Come to find out, it was.
It was. Mm-hmm.
In fucking hotel rooms, which and they still did the shit after Trump said we're gonna stop doing this. They still kept doing the shit. I'm like, dude, what the fuck? $59 million? That's a lot of money. It really is.
And again, I mean, animal testing has made tons of advances. Discovery of tuberculosis, then its cure, for example. Why don't we start paying humans for these testings? I know there's some testing humans can, trial. You want to sign up for this trial? We'll pay you $50,000 for trial. Keep it to the humans.
Keep
it to the damn humans.
If it makes sense, why not do it? It's like what 504 said. They found out llamas can't contract HIV. If they could find out why it is that they don't, maybe they can create something to make sure humans can't contract HIV. Or whatever it was that Nikki just said. It's like, okay, certain experiments make sense. I wouldn't mind my money going to that. Tell me, anybody, and I swear to God, I'll give you $500 if you could tell me what type of experiment. What are you hoping to get out of shoving marbles up asses of cats? Just tell me, like straight up. Unless you're using it to fucking rob people, please tell me.
There's
Make it
probably
make
somebody
sense.
out there that got marbles stuck in their butt and they contain something in it. I don't know.
Shit. Unless that shit was privately funded by fucking P. Diddy. Like, yeah, I need y'all to take a couple cats and yeah, because I got
put duct tape over their mouth. Put duct tape over their mouth.
you know what I mean?
She says she's trying to look it up. Nikki, get back to us, baby, please.
Yeah, please let me know.
$500 if you can let us know how it's benefiting humans.
That shit crazy.
Crazy.
Oh, boy, child. Yeah, we're talking about the ones that don't make sense. That's right. So I don't know. I'm still kind of I don't really know how I feel about animal testing. I'm not really sure. So, all right, y'all, let's get back to the why we're here for Doge, okay?
And I got to do a little bit of driving. I'll be listening though. Peace out,
All
y'all.
right. Peace out. Thank you for coming through.
Yeah.
Ciao.
Ooh,
Salt be
this
coming
is-
in here waking it up, don't he? You got my brain work, and I don't want my brain to work at that capacity right now. I don't want to do a deep dive on the marbles. I don't. But I am willing to do a deep dive on the aborted babies. I sure am. I'm willing to do a deep dive on that. And we know about stem cell research, but dang it, if they weren't getting that from umbilical cords and yada 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 yada, there's a lot of way to do stem cell research than feeding baby parts and connecting baby parts and doing all kinds of other weird stuff. So Kylie says they don't have sex beats like that. Maybe they, you know what I'm saying? It took one person. I used to hear horror stories about people going into the ER with all kinds of things shoved in their rectum. Talking about I slipped and fell. No, you didn't.
No,
you
you
didn't slip
didn't.
and fall. So
You was trying to see if that was fit up your rectum. Stop playing.
and they was doing glass and it broke and oh my gosh.
So maybe that's why they're shoving marbles up kittens' asses, because they're trying to figure out why humans.
These poor kittens, these poor things. It's just it's a lot,
Ridiculous.
y'all.
I'm
right,
sure the free school lunches would love to have that money, but I'll give the floor
Let's
back to
go. I'm sure
the
the
house.
veterans would love that money too. They want cat marble money. Okay.
Amen.
Okay. Again, like I said, I'll never look at marbles the same. I never will.
Ever.
That used to be a little game we played back in the day. Y'all remember shooting marbles? Shit.
Mm-hmm.
Don't
Shoot a marble now. Traumatized. I'm triggered.
I have a cat in my house. There's no marbles allowed. All right. And we can find an effort to find out why. Yes. You know, y'all, it's a lot. But they say the more you learn, the more you're, I suppose I want to go back to sleep, but I can't. All right, y'all. Well, let's get into it. Back to our committee hearing.
That's Dr. Resch. Thank you for testifying today. Now, this hearing's happening because of Republican concerns about the size of our government. But I would submit they're missing basic economics here, and particularly the chapter on public goods. As a reminder, public goods are things that government...
Hold on. I want to pause this just to see what it says. I'm sure you guys can't see it. Over here on this first circle, it says domestic discretionary 917 billion. U.S. aid was only 40 billion. FFA was 24 billion. Military discretion, the middle one, is 805 billion. Mandatory, 3.8 trillion. We got Social Security, 1.3 trillion. Medicare was 839 billion. Medicaid was 4 something. So there we go. Sorry, it's a little blurry on my end too.
Governments provide that we all benefit from. National defense, infrastructure, education, police, firefighting, air traffic control, all examples of public goods. And the most important thing to recognize is that these are all things that private markets typically do not provide on their own. So when we're talking about making cuts to the FAA budget for air traffic controllers, understand that no one is going to fill that gap to make our skies safer. When we cut the budget for FDA and USDA inspections, no one's going to step up to come and ensure that our foods and drugs are safe. That is why the government provides these things. Now, I realize it makes for a great talking point to talk about getting rid of waste in government. And I'm sure there are many examples we can point to. I know my colleagues have pointed to some if we look closely enough, just as I'm sure we can find lots of examples of waste and corruption in large private companies as well. But here's the thing. The reality is that what you're looking for is just not possible at the scale you're talking about. Elon Musk and many of my colleagues on the Repub side of the aisle have publicly stated that their intention is to cut $2 trillion from the federal budget. The problem is that this is just bad math. And yes, I'm Asian, and yes, I'm pretty good at math, but you don't have to be very good at math to understand this. The chart behind me illustrates very clearly the entire domestic discretionary budget that's the primary focus of today's hearing is only $917 billion. You can cut everything: education, food safety, air traffic safety, wildfire prevention, affordable housing, the FBI, the DOJ, and you're still not even halfway to the amount that Elon Musk and the Repubs are trying to cut. You can fire every single person in the federal government. That's 4% of the federal budget, a tiny fraction of what you're looking to cut right now. You can cut all military spending, $805 billion. You're still not there. So let's be realistic and talk about what's really at stake here. It's when we're talking about $2 trillion, we're talking about non-discretionary spending, which is a fancy way of saying Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid. These are earned benefits, the checks that my mom and dad rely on for their retirement, that your moms and dads and grandmas and grandpas rely on, that they spent their lifetimes paying into. And let's be clear, this is what Elon Musk and many of my Repub colleagues are targeting right now. They've made it very clear with their statements, such as when Nancy Mace in March 2023 called for huge cuts to Social Security, saying everything is on the table, quote. And so that brings me to my first question. Dr. Resch, I assume you're familiar with the United States Constitution.
Yes, sir.
Article 1, Section 1 states all legislative powers herein granted shall be vested in a Congress of the United States, which shall consist of a Senate and House of Representatives. Article 1, Section 9 gives exclusive authority for appropriations to Congress. Are you aware of any provisions in the Constitution that allow the President of the United States to unilaterally take away Congress's legislative and appropriations authority?
I am not.
Are you aware of any provisions in the Constitution that allow a special governmental employee appointed by the President to take away Congress's powers?
I am not.
Are you aware of any references in the Constitution to efficiency?
I am not.
That's right, because they do not exist. Because efficiency, while important, is not something that the founders thought was a constitutional priority. Founders were very aware that democracy was a messy and inefficient way of running a government. It would be far more efficient to have a monarch or a dictator decide how to fund programs rather than have 435 members of the House and 100 senators debate and deliberate and vote about it. But this country was not founded as a monarchy, not founded as a dictatorship, because we expressly decided that democratic representation, as inefficient as it might be, was more important than pure efficiency. And that's the point that my Repub colleagues need to recognize. We can debate our views on Social Security and Medicare and government spending. In fact, it's critically important that we do that. But those debates belong here in Congress. And we should not lose sight of the fact that Elon Musk, an unelected billionaire, is playing God with the federal government, deciding at a whim which programs and agencies he wants to, quote, delete at the flip of a switch. Elmo has gained control over our federal payment systems. He's universally declared that certain agencies we've created here in Congress are terminated. He's locked federal employees out of their systems, and he's threatening to end federal disbursements that he does not like. This is all illegal and grossly unconstitutional. The United States of America is not a monarchy. It is not a dictatorship. And Elon Musk is breaking the law repeatedly by taking Congress's legislative authority. So to my Repub colleagues, I want to plead with you. This is not a partisan issue. It is your authority here in Congress that is being stolen by Elon Musk right now. If you do not speak up, you are going to permanently lose your legislative authority. We all swore an oath to support and defend the Constitution of the United States, and that is what I'm asking you all to do. We have an obligation to uphold the rule of law and defend the Constitution against this unprecedented assault. I yield to the ranking member.
I have 3 seconds.
You know, and we were, if you have Twitter, not you, Lurker specifically, but audience, if you have Twitter, you can go to Doge and follow them. So far, they've been very transparent of the things that they found, the things that they're canceling, and not one American has been upset about it. So I don't really understand what the big fuss is. Like, they're not even giving him a chance to see what is actually going on, because the American people have been saying for decades that their government is spending too much in the wrong areas. And now that someone, I mean, is it because it's Elon Musk? Would it be better if it was Bishop T.D. Jakes or
Oh, girl, stop.
like I'm just saying, like, is it
Well, Elon even offered to, and I put the Twitter account. You do not have to sign up for Twitter to see the tweets.
correct?
So y'all go ahead and bookmark that. I'll favorite it and we'll share that. I'll circulate that. Elon even said he'll bring in Ron Paul.
Mm-hmm.
Elon said he'll let somebody else who is a government official work with him. If he's untrusted, he's like, that's fine. I'll do this. But again, I said this yesterday. Elon is a fucking rocket scientist.
Right.
He's a rocket scientist. Yes, he might be autistic. Yes, he might know proper hand placements in a public rally. I'm not team Elon, but he is being open. And this Repub guy, I love the Repubs. I'm calling y'all from now on. He is also he's right about the founding fathers and how they built that. Also, we have to remember when the founding fathers were starting our country, slavery was legal. So I just want to keep that in mind. I don't know if we should go back to the basics of our Constitution because we had to write in some amendments so that way we could be I'm saying black people, could be seen as humans. So back in the day, it would have been unconstitutional to have some of these black folks up here talking. Y'all should have been in the field. So I hear that, but times change. Okay, they didn't have cell phones or internet or automatic weapons. Okay, and he's saying, well, we prefer democracy over efficiency. What? I don't know about that. I mean, I feel like democracy is absolutely of importance. I also feel like efficiency with our money should be as equally as important.
And isn't this democracy though? Isn't this what we're doing democracy? Putting it all out on the table saying, hey, we spent $400,000 to do this, we spent 2.2 billion to do this, we spent and the people vote. That is democracy. Not, oh, you run for senator and I listen to a few of your little campaign ads on the on the TV and I vote you in and now you just have full control. I never hear nothing else of you. I just got to go to work, pay my taxes and be a nuclear family. No, that's not what the original Americans signed up for. They said they signed up for true transparency with
And
their
freedom.
government.
And back then, only like 2% of people were paying taxes back then, property taxes. Like it was way different then. People weren't paying taxes when they signed the Constitution. They were saying fuck taxes and we're free.
Amen.
So, I mean, if it weren't for taxpayers, sir, you wouldn't be up here to speak. Truth be told, if we kept it up to the Constitution, we wouldn't be paying no fucking taxes. Auntie's back. He says, Paul's another corrupt. They all are. Okay.
Yeah.
And I hear, I'm with y'all. I hear y'all. I see y'all. And Nikki, I know. I do be giving Elon that work on Twitter. I sure do. I be giving him that work. I'm like, damn, he representing America harder than his damn birth country. He la 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 la. Yeah. So like I said, I'm not team Elon, but I'm not going to deny that he is a rocket scientist. Now, I don't know if the rocket scientist is. They're good with numbers. I don't know if they're good with money. I don't know. I can't speak for that. I'm not a rocket scientist, and I am also not a political science major. So all of this is out of my realm. I'm not an accountant. All of this is above me. I just know my taxpayers are funding it. Amen.
Right.
Okay.
And something don't smell right in the water.
The constant and it takes acts like this for us to bring forth an amendment, Kai. It takes acts like this for us to be like, well, we should probably amend this. We should look into this. So, okay, they did the study to see if stimulating the sacral nerves would allow cats to defecate if they were shocked. It was for spinal cord injury. That's why the cats had marbles up their butt. Thank you, Coco. Salt owe you 500, baby. Go ahead and drop that cash app. Now we know he's not gonna pay you, but
don't do him. He might
drop
drop something in it.
injury patients. He might. He might, Coco. That's not democracy. That's a little extra transparency. Democracy is about majority ruling. Democracy in 2025 is democracy in 2025. America is just giving the people bad, worse options and telling them to choose.
I can agree with you there.
There we go. So good. I'm glad it was for spinal. I'm not glad that what's partaking with it. I'm glad you went and looked, and now I'm interested to go do a deep dive on that. Prior to, I was not. So we love that. And Nikki kept shouting yesterday in the chat. She was like, they are using emotional verbiage to trigger us, right? Those are emotional terminology. Let's keep it fact-based. Let's not do that. So okay. Look,
And
we
they
got
love that
concerned citizens in the building. Amen. Yeah.
who seek solutions and not just debates. Okay. Love that. Again, I'm still not in full agreement with shoving marbles up cats' booty holes,
And
but you
let
know,
me.
that's just that.
My not StreamYard is tripping. Okay, but real quick, back to that's not democracy. It's just a little extra transparency. Democracy is on majority ruling. Well, if majority says we want more transparency, then that is in part democracy. All right, y'all. Let's get back to it.
It's a light. Thank you.
I thank the gentleman for his observations and for his cogent points.
I also would like to request unanimous consent to enter into the record a New York Times article titled U.S. Agencies Fund and Fight with Elon Musk. A Trump presidency could give him
Without
power over them,
objection to order.
which describes how Elon Musk were, quote, promised $3 billion across nearly 100 different contracts last
Without
year
objection
with
to
17
order.
federal agencies.
Got it.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
I also have a unanimous consent request, Mr. Chairman. I ask unanimous consent that the statements of the American Federation of Government Employees and National Active and Retired Federal Employees be entered into the record.
Without objection to order.
And I further ask unanimous consent that the article Doge AIDS Search Medicare Agency also be entered into the
Without objection to order.
I thank the chair.
Chair recognizes Ms. Tlaib.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chair. Since we're entering items to the record, it's really important, as I do a lot of these question lines, to center it around my constituents and my residents who very much feel like there's so much instability and chaos right now. So if I may, I would like to submit a letter from the CEO and founder of Cody Rouge Action Alliance in the 12th Congressional District in Michigan, just about the freezing of the funds and what it meant for her seniors and many of the community members that she supports. Many of them are retirees. Many of them rely heavily on this agency to, again, supplement the high cost of living right now for many of our families. And so if I may, I would ask unanimous consent to again send this letter.
Without objection to order.
Thank you. You know, I want to cut through the BS because I am from Detroit and we like to speak truth to power and be very honest. You know, the American people feel very much we're in a constitutional crisis. They cannot understand, you know, this billionaire. I don't even know really how to describe him. Of course, he's the richest man in the world. And to think that he can just walk in to an agency that I can tell you for many of my families from Social Security and Medicare, I mean, it is literally part of how they survive in our country. And it's not just about the private information. It's about the fact that this person who they have no way of, they didn't get to elect him. He's not held accountable to them, the community, the public. And so they are very much living in fear right now. And we are in a constitutional crisis. One of the things that I continue to talk to our ranking member about and thinking about even the folks that voted for the president and others, if I was to ask the American people, do you think Elon Musk cares about you? Do they think that he cares about your disabled child that relies on Department of Education services through the IDEA Act? Do you think he cares for any of our families right now? No matter how hard they work, they're still in survivor mode, not thriving in our country. The disconnect that his own lived experience will never, ever be able to connect to that family in North Dakota, to the teacher in Detroit, to the child living and trying to survive through the education program, living with autism and so much more. And so I'm just curious. I mean, really, this is do you think Elon Musk cares about the American people, Mr. Shades?
I don't think that's the issue. I think the question is what is going to be done about the $36 trillion debt and the $2
So
trillion
you want to talk
deficits
about the
annually.
debt, but the Congress, they're in control. Why not go through the public process? If you want to make cuts, then vote to cut it. Why are you having this person do it? Are you giving him your power as an elected person representing 750,000 people? You represent equal number of people I do. I want to get a chance to vote on this, hear from my constituents, have it be done in a public process. You want to deal with it, you're in power. You have a trifecta, the White House, the Senate, and the House. But no, you want to do it this way. The cruelty of it. The fact that even American people, no matter in their political affiliation, I'm telling you right now, feel like they have no control over the decisions being made. Why? Because members of Congress have circumvented, said, hey, we're good. Go ahead and do it for us. Go ahead. Even though they know it is going to impact farmers, veterans, disabled residents, folks living with disability, and so much more of these infrastructures that they don't understand support all of our families. So you can keep talking about the debt. They have control. They can deal with the debt if that's really what they want to do. Instead, they're just yielding their power to Elon Musk, who has, again, been unelected. And we can continue to say that. But one of the things you can go around the country is they don't want Elon Musk making that decision. They want their member of Congress that is elected making that decision, Mr. Shades. That's the problem. And I will never, and Mr. Chair knows this, vote your district. Come here and vote your district. If your district wants you to cut these various programs, go cut a public education, Department of Education, then go ahead and vote on it. Introduce a bill to cut the Department of Education. Do not say, hey, I don't have no custom. You're just literally giving it to this person. It doesn't make any sense. Dr. Rush, do you think the American people think that Elon Musk cares about them?
I don't think the American people should really care what he thinks. They should have someone making decisions who's taken an oath to the Constitution.
Oh, that's actually very important, isn't it? You know, the Constitution gives Congress control over the spending, not the president, and certainly not Elon Musk. And the American people need to understand why that balance of government is there. It's to protect all of us from these kinds of decisions that are hurting people now. And Mr. Chair, just know this. This is the same man that continues to want to cut, but he has $20 billion in federal contracts. Can I get our money back? Because he is the richest man on earth, and he's still taking a handout from us, the public. $20 billion, Mr. Chair. If it's really about that and not about hurting these public infrastructures, which really are critical and important for, I guess, the most vulnerable, and really, you'll be surprised how many people in your community and in your districts, no matter, again, political affiliation, will be harmed by these decisions that, again, overpass the congressional public process. It's our constitutional duty and responsibility to be able to authorize spending and cuts. We should be able to do it, not Elon Musk. With that, I yield.
Gentlelady yields.
But y'all haven't been able to do
She's
it.
talking about put it in for a bill. How many? We signed a bill for $50 million to send freaking condoms to Gaza that we didn't even know they knew, but we didn't even know. You know what I mean? We're supporting. Like,
Right.
we got it.
And even Kylie has brought to the fact that half of the bill, I won't even say half, most of the bills are stacked.
Yeah.
So while you think you've got multiple things going on inside of one bill that don't always go hand in hand with one another.
Yes.
So you can't just say put it in a bill and we vote on it. No, because y'all's votes have been trashed. They said we are $3.4 trillion in debt, and that is just on an upward projection. In debt to what and who? How are we this much money in debt and we're sending money for other countries to blow each other up? No.
Coco said she was gonna type that. She deleted it. That's right. There's some people to China. Okay. There's been a lot of what's that word you kept saying yesterday, Godmomma? Deception. There's been a lot of deception going on. So we might not want to put that in a bill because y'all might say, okay, we'll do government efficiency, but we're going to sign off $170 million to go over here. we're going to sign off this. Yeah, we'll give you that. So, I mean, we're right. Well, let me speak for myself. I'm not trusting bills right now. I'm not trusting bills passed by the Senate right now. I'm just not. Not with all the other stuff y'all have thrown in on us, and then we later find out. Uh-oh. Oh, gosh. Okay. I didn't mean to highlight that because I didn't read it all. I'm sorry. We'll save that's between y'all. So let's get back to it, though. I mean, come on, Godmomma. Chat's agreeing with you. And Auntie saying she don't get it. That's why he's rich. Other people's monies, i.e. yours. Okay?
Right.
Them government contracts.
Yeah.
And if you are an independent contractor, y'all go ahead and while you can, before they close all these federal agencies, go ahead and get you some government money real quick. Okay. Because they pay you well. Government contracts
Very well.
they pay you very well. And
Very well.
with the public don't even have to vote on it.
Nope. I seen a woman. She started doing truck driving, and she basically became a millionaire overnight through government contracts.
That's
Yep.
That's
It
right.
was crazy. I was like, damn.
And she getting rich. She don't give a fuck. Like Kylie said earlier. Excuse my language. I don't mean to be too. But it's the truth. But like Kylie said, this lady up here, do you think Elon cares about you? Kylie said, your neighbor might not even care. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
My neighbor might be the person getting that overnight government contract. You think they give a fuck about me? No, because they're about to move. They're no longer my neighbor. They don't give a fuck.
Right.
Again, please excuse my vulgar language. It is what it is. Though we talking about money, and baby, I ain't got to sugarcoat it with y'all, okay? Because I know y'all wouldn't let me all up in y'all's. I know y'all wouldn't. You know what I mean? Y'all wouldn't be sending me money, and I didn't tell you exactly what it was going for, and I'll pop out with some other shit, and you'd be like, wait. I know it'd be a problem for every single one of us in this damn chat right now. I know it'd be a problem.
That concludes our questions. In closing, I want to thank our witnesses once again for their testimony today. I'm now going to yield to the ranking member for some brief closing remarks.
I thank the chair and I thank our witnesses. We've spent the entirety of this hearing under the rubric of right size in government, as if we all know presumptively what the right size is, which of course nobody does. In fact, it's not even necessarily a sensical question. But we have ignored half of what should be involved in any enterprise, business, nonprofit, or government. And that is the revenue side of the picture. You cannot right size, whatever that means, government by only looking at expenditures and investments. You've got to look at how we finance it. Does anyone think that Elon Musk, in running Tesla, had a meeting when he took it over and said to his management crew, whatever we do, we are never again discussing or modifying the price of a Tesla? Whatever it is today, it's frozen forever. And all company profits will be derived from spending, expenditure cuts. Of course not. I heard the governor of Iowa say we ought to run government like a business. Well, then run it like a business. And that means there are two sides to the ledger, revenue as well as expenditure. I also heard the governor of Iowa say that there's nothing wrong with looking at the enterprise and making recommendations. I couldn't agree more. But that isn't what Elon Musk and company are doing. They're taking a wrecking ball to the federal government. They're firing people. They're intruding in very sensitive databases. They are threatening to close down entire departments and agencies of the federal government without any mandate, without any confirmation by the U.S. Senate, and without a howdy-do by the Congress of the United States. This committee and Congress cannot be supine in the face of that threat. We must play our legitimate role. And if my colleagues on the other side can muster a majority to, in fact, shut down these agencies, then so be it. But it cannot be something delegated to an unelected billionaire oligarch from South Africa. I yield back.
Gentleman yields back. I must say, there's been a virus that has been spreading throughout the inside of Congress for the past 4 years. It's called Trump derangement syndrome, but it appears over the last week it's mutated now into Musk derangement syndrome. And all we have here is a business guy, an outsider, much like many outsiders and many business people on the local and state levels all over America that have been asked essentially to serve on a board to make recommendations to make government more efficient. What a noble idea on the federal level. And we welcome Elon Musk. We welcome any individual in America who has ideas on making government more efficient. But I will say this publicly: to make government more efficient and to live within our means, which is what the American people voted for in November, we're going to have to make cuts. We're going to have to reduce the size of government. And that's not going to be an easy task. It's easy to spend money. Everybody's popular when they're spending unlimited amounts of money and doing check presentations and things like that. But when it gets to making cuts, that's tough. That's what people in the private sector have to do every day. That's what people who work and pay taxes and struggle to make ends meet have to do every day. They have to make tough financial decisions. Congress has been immune for that for a long time. But the day has come and the American people have spoken to where we're going to have to tighten our belts. And that's what at least my side of the aisle is committed to doing. And we're going to work with Doge. We're going to work with the Trump administration. We're going to work with all of his cabinet secretaries. We're willing to work with Democrats across the aisle on sincere ideas to make government more efficient, to end duplicative services, to reduce wasteful spending. That's what we want to do. That's what this hearing was about. And I want to thank our witnesses who came here today to testify about number 5 legislative days within which to submit materials and additional written questions for the witnesses, which will be forwarded to the witnesses. If there's no further business without objection, the committee stands adjourned. I want to welcome.
I can't even be mad at that.
That's Mr. Comer. I was trying to go through and see how much everybody was worth, but I got a little sidetracked over here. That's that adjournment, and then there's this other one. There's more. They continue to. That one's adjourned, but they have another one coming right up. I think we'll listen to a little bit of that, and then we'll head up out of here. I think we've given you guys, enough of our own opinions. I hear you, Nikki. No taxation without representation. Okay. He's not representing anyone. He's not. But Elon isn't. He didn't run for. And I'll play this towards the end. Again, he's in a position that's not votable.
Right.
He's not running for Senate. He's not running for governor. He's not running for any of that. He's just a hired auditor. Okay. Maybe you didn't hire him, but majority of America voted for Trump, who in turn hired him. So don't be mad at Elon for stepping up. Be mad at Trump, which you guys already, not you guys, but a lot of people already are. So it doesn't matter who the position goes to, whether it's Elon or whether it's me. Okay. Y'all would be upset if it was me. Y'all be like, this dumb. Y'all would have me out here, docs looking crazy.
What's Diet always? This drunk bitch.
Okay. Y'all be
You
mad.
got this drunk bitch up here running our government. What's going on? And that was the question I posed earlier. Like, okay, is it because it's Elon or is it because it's someone doing it in general? And I think it's just because it's someone doing it in general, maybe.
Imagine if they hired me. Oh my god. We all gonna eat. I promise you that. Because I'm appointing y'all too. Like, I need Coco for research, Nikki for fact checking, Godmomma to be our liaison to the public. We're gonna bring Kylie in as our what is she like our deacon. Okay. Amen. And we're gonna
Mm,
for
we're
research.
gonna get it together.
We're gonna bring salt in for research purposes. Okay. She said nature boy still twitching. Y'all, you better ask somebody.
You better ask somebody.
Oh gosh. Y'all better ask somebody. No, I don't want that chain back. Oh boy. Yo, that debate would be off the chain. Do you hear me?
So you mean to tell me we've been sticking marbles in cats' booty house this whole time?
No.
It would be a YouTube panel for real.
Hold on, let me drop the link. I got my homie coming up.
Right.
Oh gosh. Okay, period. But I mean, it starts somewhere. Every revolution or whatever people are scared of what this is starts somewhere. So it's probably not going to be perfect. But like Mr. Comer said, hey, we do have to tighten our belts. Regular citizens have to choose between some of us have to choose between light bill, food bill, gas bill, toiletries.
Mm-hmm.
We gotta what do they say when you rob Peter to pay Paul?
Yeah.
Everyday citizens are living like that, and Congress don't need to get it together.
Mm-hmm. Because
Okay.
obviously y'all ain't living like that.
And
You
they're
know?
not. And they're not.
Maxine Waters coming out here with a chain on, with a teardrop. You hear me?
Okay.
Like,
Yeah.
girl, people coming in with these expensive watches and suits.
And suits.
You can tell when a suit's expensive. So all of this hoopla. Listen, like the man said, the American people asked for this, and this is what we're giving them.
Majority.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, it does suck. I've said this from the beginning of election season. I think I say it almost every election season. I don't like choosing between the lesser of two evils. That ain't for me, baby.
Right.
And like I said, if Jesus Christ wasn't on the ballot himself, I ain't going. And I stand by that. I ain't going because I don't trust y'all. And I shouldn't. Time has told me. Isn't time the best marker
Teacher.
of
Mm-hmm.
So I don't trust y'all. Hell no. I'm side-eyeing all of y'all. All of y'all.
All of y'all.
So let's get back to a little bit more. I was going to try and close out in the next 10 or 15 minutes or so. Let's see what this next hearing is because they continue to, talk about our spending while they were here. But let's go ahead.
Welcome everyone here today. Without objection, the chair may declare a recess at any time. I now recognize myself for the purpose of delivering an opening statement. This morning, we'll explore how we can make the federal government work better for all Americans. President Trump promised he would eliminate Washington waste and reform the unchecked federal bureaucracy, and he is delivering on his promise made to the American people. President Trump created the Department of Government Efficiency, or DOGE, to conduct a government-wide audit to root out waste, fraud, and abuse and ensure we protect taxpayer dollars. At the helm of President Trump's effort is Elon Musk, one of the most successful entrepreneurs ever. For decades and on a bipartisan basis, members of this committee have lamented the inefficiency of the federal bureaucracy. We fought never-ending battles against the waste, fraud, and abuse the bureaucracy generates during both Republican and Democrat administrations. One byproduct of this inefficiency, according to GAO, is the near $250 billion in annual improper payments the government issues. But now that President Trump is taking action to drain the swamp and expose how the federal government is spending taxpayer money, which he was elected to do, Democrats are hyperventilating and sensationalizing it. Over the past few days, we've heard wild claims from Democrats that we are, quote, at the beginning of a dictatorship, end quote, and we are in a constitutional crisis. This kind of theatrical rhetoric is exactly what the American people rejected in November. Americans know that Washington needs reform, and DOGE is taking inventory to bring about change and steward taxpayer dollars entrusted to the federal government. Real innovation is not clean and tidy. It's necessarily disruptive and messy. But that's exactly what Washington needs right now. And it's what the American people voted for in November, a departure from the broken status quo. This committee intends to work in partnership with DOGE. We want to reinforce its efforts and not blunt the momentum it's generating for needed change to the federal bureaucracy. At the Oversight Committee, our core mission remains unchanged, identifying waste, fraud, and abuse in the federal government and proposing solutions to make it more efficient and effective for the American people. For this Congress, we created a subcommittee chaired by Marjorie Taylor Greene that is dedicated to working with DOGE. But I expect all of our subcommittees will participating in this effort to make Washington more accountable. I'm hopeful that we can find some common ground with our Democrat colleagues to ensure the federal government more efficiently and effectively serves the American people. I ask all my colleagues here today, who among us believes that the federal government operates at peak efficiency? The federal government has expanded dramatically since the early years of our republic. There are today more than 400 executive branch agencies and sub-agencies, and roughly 1,000 federal commissions. Most of these entities are relatively new creations. They did not exist for most of our nation's history. Not only has the government grown in size and complexity, but it has also taken on many functions once handled by the states or even the private sector. How did we get here? Tom Schatz, the president of the Citizens Against Government Waste, and one of our witnesses today, notes that Congress tends to respond to each new problem that arises by creating a new program or agency. And even if the problem goes away, the program or agency remains. Congressional authorizing committees tend to generate these new programs and entities all too often without sufficient regard to similar federal activities occurring outside of their jurisdiction. Over time, the expansion of entities and programs has yielded an increasingly complex bureaucracy with a massive amount of overlap and duplication. For instance, the Government Accountability Office, the GAO, recently found 43 job training programs scattered across 9 different federal agencies. That's just one of dozens of areas of wasteful duplication the GAO has identified across a range of federal activities. I hope we can learn today from Governor Kim Reynolds, who proposed her own wide-ranging reorganization in Iowa, which the state legislature enacted. For example, she will detail how Iowa consolidated a host of state-level job training programs. Iowa's reorganization also eliminated or consolidated a slew of state agencies, commissions, and vacant job positions. Iowa's example shows that the chief executive of any unit of government, federal, state, or local, is well positioned to propose ways to streamline that government. After all, they're the ones who run it on a day-to-day basis. At the federal level, the president has considerable authority within existing law to reorganize certain government offices and functions. That's the case, for instance, with respect to USAID. But some reorganizations do require changes in law. Throughout our nation's history, such reorganization legislation typically originated from the White House. That's in part because for much of the 20th century, presidential reorganization proposals requiring changes in law were granted special consideration by Congress. I think renewing that special authority, requiring Congress to take an up or down vote on reorganizations proposed by the president, would help facilitate needed improvements in government operations. In the meantime, I look forward to learning more about keys to successful reforms from our witnesses during today's hearing. I now yield to Ranking Member Conley for his opening statement.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Our government was designed to be by, of, and for the American people. It's made up of civil servants who take an oath to serve the American people and to support and defend the Constitution. More than 1 in 3 federal workers is employed by either the Postal Service, ensuring every American can get mail, or the Department of Veterans Affairs, providing care to our veterans in VA hospitals, clinics, and nursing homes. Almost 1 in 3 federal workers is a veteran, and more than 85% live outside the D.C. metropolitan area across every state and serving every community in America. 1 in 3 Americans and half of all American children are enrolled in a government program. Our government provides the support these Americans are counting on, including Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, SNAP, Head Start, the National School Lunch Program. We depend on our government to safeguard our food supply and to ensure life-saving medication is safe to consume. We depend on our government to provide alerts about extreme weather through the National Weather Service, which you know all too well from the tornado that devastated your community, Mr. Chairman, a few years ago, and to provide disaster relief to communities where it's needed, such as in Los Angeles of the devastating fires of the last few weeks. This is the so-called deep state that President Trump and his acolytes continue to demonize, and these are the programs and services sitting on Elon Musk's chopping block right now. Their efforts to, quote, right-size government serve no one but themselves and fellow oligarchs who want to destroy, deregulate, and privatize, leaving everyday Americans to foot the bill with not only their paychecks, but even potentially their well-being and their lives. Just last week, the country watched in horror as a commercial aircraft and a U.S. Army Black Hawk helicopter collided over the Potomac River, killing 67 people, including several of my constituents, including young children. We know that disasters are more likely to happen when the agencies that ensure our safety are unsupported and under-resourced. Our nation's air traffic control facilities were already operating below recommended staffing levels. But one day before the horrific crash, the Trump administration sent an email to more than 2 million federal employees offering them a purported financial incentive to immediately quit their jobs. Can you imagine what might yet happen if our air traffic controllers accept this offer to quit en masse? This is just the tip of the iceberg. In its first 2 weeks, the Trump administration has ordered a hiring freeze on all federal civilian positions, ordered all federal employees back to the office full time, unless, of course, you take their early retirement offer, and then you don't have to come to work for 8 months. Paved the way to purge more than 100,000 nonpartisan career civil servants and replace them with political loyalists, and wage war on our nation's commitment to civil rights by eviscerating diversity, equity, and inclusion programs.
Mr. Connolly, I understand what you're saying, sir.
He's worth 1 point something million, by the way, and this is his 7th year on the Senate, by the way. 7th year.
You know,
in Congress.
To be given two options, you can either come back to the office or you can take a stipend and we'll pay you for 8 months, and that gives you enough time to find you another job that may let you stay at home. We have an issue with that? I'm confused. Because most places will tell you take it or leave it. Hello. Take it or leave it. I'm not paying you nothing. You either come back into the office or find you something else and file for unemployment.
Okay, so a lot of these are just replaying. I'm seeing a lot of these are replaying. So I want to get to a spot where we haven't heard, like we haven't seen this, right? So a lot, like they repeat the, ooh, Crockett. Oh, we're going to have to skip past some of this. We're going to have to go forward a little bit. I do want to hear from these people. So sometimes they're replaying. I think we missed the beginning. So this is the beginning of what the committee we just heard. But let's go down here, y'all. I've seen Jasmine Crockett. Y'all know I got a thing for Crockett. Not in the best way.
Spicy.
She does. So we have Miss Presley.
I liked her.
I did.
The last time we seen her, I liked her.
I did too. She's again
informative.
Well
articulated.
articulated. Yes, well articulated. So I think these are just redone. Because of course I didn't have time to watch a fucking 11 hours. Also, I have breaking news real quick before we do fast forward. They are protesting outside of DC right now as we speak. They are upset. And also, supposedly, I'm trying to find truth to this. Supposedly, We have until they, not we, they have until midnight tonight, y'all. For it's Cash Patel, Tulsa Gabardi, however you say her last name, and RFK. They have until midnight tonight, is what I'm told. It's for RFK Jr., Tulsi, and Cash Patel. It says right here, from my understanding, the final vote takes place by midnight tonight at the latest. Dems have 30 hours from the vote yesterday afternoon to argue before the final vote. So it says they'll probably use all, so it could be today that it comes out, but it says they have until midnight tonight. What the standoff is for, I'm not sure. I'm sure they're trying to scrape and, find every little split hair they can find. So we have until midnight tonight for the Cash Patel, Tulsi Gabardi. I'm not sure don't correct me if I'm wrong on the Tulsi Gabbard or however you say her name. And who's in my house? Hello. And for RFK. So we'll see by this evening, by midnight tonight. So tomorrow for sure we'll have that committee hearing. But let's run this back real quick and let's hear a little Gabbard, Tulsi Gabbard. Okay. Thank you, Nikki. Security was blocking the entrance to some building, Department of Ed. That was the other day. Yes, they were. They were outside the Department of Education, which has been quote unquote closed down. She's from Hawaii too. Yes, she is. I like some Tulsi. I do. She's also a veteran. Wasn't he up here showing us a sign of all the veteran workers? Well, Tulsi's one of them. I'm not too sure about this Cash Patel, but again, we'll get into that tomorrow. All right, family, let's get back to this hearing. And I'm sorry for cutting it in midway. Again, this was 11 hours of footage to go through. And who got time for all that, baby? Yesterday I was busy. I didn't have time for it.
Fire Elon Musk to save schools and our jobs.
Okay, well,
these are people that have some sort of ethic.
Okay, we'll run back.
Gentlelady yields back. Chair recognizes Mr. Timmons from South Carolina.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And I want to thank the witnesses for being here today. I do my best to work across the aisle whenever possible. And I think that is how this place is supposed to work. I try to earn the respect and the trust of all of my colleagues.
Nobody's me.
I am sickened by the way that the left is categorizing and lying about what Elon Musk is doing in the federal government. I'm going to say what's true, and then I'm going to debunk their ridiculous lies. Number one, President Trump hired Elon Musk. He's a federal employee. He does not make enough to trigger financial disclosures. Those are the rules. If you don't like them, file a bill to change them. He has hired people to seek out waste, fraud, and abuse throughout all government agencies. He leads a team within the administration that has smaller teams across all of government. Their job is to bring sanity to this process. They don't have to be Senate confirmed because they don't make enough money and they're not in positions of control. They are in advisory positions. Their objective is to give a menu of options to the president, to the Secretary of Treasury, to the Secretary of Defense, to all the different agency heads who are Senate confirmed, of ways to conserve taxpayer dollars. That's what this election was about. We got $36 trillion in debt. We run a $2 trillion annual deficit. This is unsustainable, and the American people have spoken. So what is he and what are his teams doing? They're creating systems to track sources and uses. We haven't done that. When a government agency goes to the Treasury and says, we want this money, there's no system through which they actually can say, all right, Congress appropriated, authorized it, and what are you going to use it for, and then track all that. So what are they doing? They're creating systems to make sure that the money is going where it's supposed to go. And guess what? The Democrats are losing their mind. He's also creating systems to ensure accountability. All of this is going to be public. All of this is going to be public. And he's proven that he can turn around businesses that are failing, and he has offered his time to try to save this country. So I guess first, just ridiculous lies that are being told. Elon Musk does not have access to Americans' personally identifiable information at Treasury. He just doesn't. You have career bureaucrats that are mad that they're losing their jobs because they're no longer useful in the future of this government because they've gotten us in the situation. I had dinner with Treasury Secretary Bessent, and he assured us that all that the DOJ employees at Treasury were doing was checking sources and uses to make sure that money authorized and appropriated by Congress is being spent on what it's supposed to be spent on. The fact that we haven't done that yet in 2025 is insane. So while people call my office and say, oh, Elon Musk has my records, that's a lie. It's a lie from the flailing bureaucracy that is no longer useful because technology can solve all these problems.
Will the gentleman yield for a clarifying question?
Sure, go ahead.
Can you help us understand, based on what you're explaining here, then why nearly 2 million federal workers received an email from OPM with Elon Musk's letterhead, A Fork in the Road? You know,
okay, so I'm sorry. I'm debunking the fact that people are calling my office saying that he has access to, that he has access to their tax records, which he does not. The Treasury Secretary said that you do not know better than the Treasury Secretary, and angry bureaucrats don't know better than the Treasury Secretary. That's our system of government. We won the election.
Elon Musk is
the politically appointed and Senate confirmed Treasury Secretary says you're wrong. So until you get actual data.
Elon Musk is bragging about it on his Twitter, y'all. Go on his
so
Twitter.
I have an article here in Politico.
Elon Musk's Twitter, you guys.
Who is this lady talking?
I don't know. I wish they'd show her on the camera because I need to know.
Who is this?
It better not be Miss Crawford.
I'll just Crockett.
Crockett.
Who is this? It sounds like her. And look how he's getting upset. Look at his face. Bitch, I didn't yield the floor.
Right.
She
it's still my time.
Mm-hmm. So, but they say up here at the top, y'all, they say House committee hearing, they say a tussle breaks out. Well, if Jasmine Crockett's there, you know a tussle gonna break out, okay? Because she's not gonna be quiet for not nobody. Sounds like the Detroit. It could be the Detroit lady. That does sound like her a little bit. Okay, well, we'll see. Yeah, she said he's on Twitter, y'all, right now.
That's what made me think it was Crockett. He's on Twitter, y'all, because it sounded just like it.
Look at his face. Look at his face. Oh gosh. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Reclaiming my time. Thank you.
I know that's right. He's reclaiming his time. Thank you. Let's run this back just a second.
We're going to get out of this ridiculous financial situation we're in. With that, Mr. Chairman, I yield back.
Gentleman yields back.
Oh,
sure.
no. Go ahead.
They don't have to be Senate confirmed because
CEOs who had front row seats to Trump.
Wait, what?
Gentlelady yields back. Chair recognizes Mr. Timmons from South Carolina.
They don't have to be Senate confirmed because they don't make enough money and they're not in positions of control. They are in advisory positions. Their objective is to
Texas
give a menu of options to the president, to the Secretary of Treasury, to the Secretary of Defense, to all the different agency heads who are Senate confirmed of ways to conserve taxpayer dollars. That's what this election was about. We got $36 trillion in debt. We run a $2 trillion annual deficit. This is unsustainable, and the American people have spoken. So what is
he did his big one?
They're creating systems to.
Yeah, he up here. Child. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, guys. He's handsome to me, but I'm not gonna let that sway me. Okay, you could be cute all day, but what you really talking about, sir? Okay.
To track sources and uses. We haven't done that. When a government agency goes to the Treasury and says, we want this money, there's no system through which they actually can say, all right, Congress appropriated, authorized it, and what are you going to use it for, and then track all that. So what are they doing? They're creating systems to make sure that the money is going where it's supposed to go. And guess what? The Democrats are losing their mind. He's also creating systems to ensure accountability. All of this is going to be public. All of this is going to be public. And he's proven that he can turn around businesses that are failing, and he has offered his time to try to save this country. So I guess first, just ridiculous lies that are being told. Elon Musk does not have access to Americans' personally identifiable information at Treasury. He just doesn't. You have career bureaucrats that are mad that they're losing their jobs because they're no longer useful in the future of this government because they've gotten us in a situation. I had dinner with Treasury Secretary Bessent, and he assured us that all that the DOJ employees at Treasury were doing was checking sources and uses to make sure that money authorized and appropriated by Congress is being spent on what it's supposed to be spent on. The fact that we haven't done that yet in 2025 is insane. So
I agree.
While people call my office and say, "Oh, Elon Musk has my records," that's a lie. It's a lie from the flailing bureaucracy that is no longer useful because technology can solve all these problems.
Will the gentleman yield for a clarifying question?
Sure, go ahead.
Can you help us understand, based on what you're explaining here, then why nearly 2 million federal workers received an email from OPM with Elon Musk's letterhead, a fork in the road? You know,
Okay, so I'm sorry. I'm debunking the fact that people are calling my office saying that he has access to, that he has access to their tax records, which he does not. The Treasury Secretary said that you do not know better than the Treasury Secretary, and angry bureaucrats don't know better than the Treasury Secretary. That's our system of government. We won the election.
Elon Musk is
the politically appointed and Senate confirmed Treasury Secretary says you're wrong. So until you get actual data.
Elon Musk is bragging about it on his Twitter, y'all. Go on his Twitter.
I have an article here in Politico.
Elon Musk's Twitter, you guys.
I'm reclaiming my time. Thank you. This is an article in Politico that was written after the dinner that we had Monday night with the Treasury Secretary, where he confirmed to the House Financial Services Committee that Elon Musk does not have access to American taxpayers' personal data. So I'm going to say it one more time. Everybody that's calling my office, everybody's flipping out, the media that's lying about this. The DOJ employees do not have access to American citizens' personally identifiable information. Their only goal is to track sources and uses and make sure that the money that we're spending is going where it says it's supposed to go. This is shocking. It hasn't been done yet, but they're doing it now, and this is just the beginning. Again, I'd say buckle up because this is going to keep going, and we're going to save this country, and we're going to get out of this ridiculous financial situation we're in. With that, Mr. Chairman, I yield back.
Gentleman yields back. Chair recognizes Ms. Crockett.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chair. It's the faux outrage for me. It's as faux news that I'm hearing because somehow you guys, and when I say you guys, I am referring to my Republican colleagues, pretend as if you are the heroes of the story. But let me remind you who set the house on fire. It was y'all. So let me go ahead and handle these receipts because I know that I always have to.
Child, y'all go ahead and get comfortable. We're going to be here and let this one ride out. I thought I was going to leave at 12:30. Here we are at 12:42. Y'all get comfortable. It's getting good in this mother. She said she got receipts.
I know. I told you this is a whole YouTube channel. They might as well just set up a YouTube page, okay?
And they're doing
like Super Mayor. Okay.
Okay. They're doing an oversight right now. They are live right now talking about the growth of the welfare system, part 1. Baby, I ain't got time for it all, but maybe I do. I don't know. I'm excited. This is my type of carrying on, baby. Come on, Miss Crockett, with your receipts. Come on, girl.
To have proof, even though I guess our education system is failing us because it seems like facts don't seem to faze people that vote for y'all. But I'm gonna do it anyway. So when we talk about debt, I'd ask for unanimous consent to enter into a record this article that says Donald Trump built a national debt so big, even before the pandemic, that it'll weigh down the economy for years.
Without objection, so ordered.
Thank you so much. In fact, it talked about the fact that he ran up our debt almost $8 trillion. It was estimated to be $7.8 trillion at that time. And this is it's actually the third biggest increase ever under any presidential administration. So I don't understand how y'all gonna play the heroes. I also want to just kind of be clear about some basic level setting of civics because it seems like civics is evading us. And listen, Governor, I actually appreciate you. I know that in today's times, for whatever reason, if you got a D or an R in front of your name, it has to be all hostile. Listen, I am a former business owner. If I was not sitting in this seat, I would still have my law firm, but we have rules, right? So I'm not allowed to practice law. I'm not allowed to do a lot of other things because ethics decides that that's not really a good thing, to make sure that the American people can trust that I don't have any divided interest. In fact, we do that for people that run our treasury typically. So I'm curious to know if you have an elected treasurer in your state. And you do, actually.
We do.
I know you do because I looked him up. And I'm curious to know. So it's my guess that he's the one that actually controls all of the treasury systems that you have, correct?
Some of the investments.
He controls some of the investments, but also monies that need to be disseminated by the state, that's done by him, correct?
Department of Management in the Treasurer's Office.
Okay. In the Treasurer's Office.
2 separate agencies.
Okay. But you have an agency that does that, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And as you are having this agency do that, these are people that have some sort of ethics that they have to follow, I'm sure. I'm going out on a limb because I don't know how anything works in Iowa. I'm just being honest with you.
Yes.
Okay. Here is the deal. I want the American people to understand that Democrats are not against efficiency. In fact, the last time that this country actually ran to the extent that there was a balanced budget and actually there was a surplus, it was a Democrat in the White House. His name was President Clinton. So we are not against this. What we are against is this idea that we will evade the Constitution or we will evade our own constitutional. In fact, it's not even an invasion. At this point, it feels as if y'all have just decided that y'all are going to castrate your constitutional duty and hand it over to someone who is unelected. It doesn't matter how many cheerleaders he had on the field campaigning for him. That doesn't mean that he gets to go in and sit atop any of our agencies. And the fact that we had a vote today and we asked to bring him in because we have a constitutional duty, we all took our oath. And maybe some of y'all just don't take it seriously, but I take it seriously when I take an oath to do a job. And my job is to look out and make sure that we don't have any kings or queens in this country. But it seems like y'all have decided that it's going to be Mr. King and his queen, and y'all can pick which one is which. But either way, I want to also talk about Governor. I'm curious to know if you know the answers to these questions. Which party controls the White House?
Republican.
Which party controls the Senate?
Republican.
Which party controls the House?
Republican.
Is that about what the makeup is in Iowa?
Yes.
And that has allowed you to be able to get your agenda across, correct?
Yes.
And you haven't had to bring in somebody to basically usurp any types of norms because you worked through the process, correct?
Well, I did executive orders,
Yes or no?
2080
Yes or
agreements,
no?
and then
Yes-
went
yes
to the
or no? Because
legislature
we've
as
only
well.
got
It wasn't all
I'm
of the
gonna
above.
reclaim my time because I
All of
only
the
got so
above.
much time left.
All of the
I
above.
also want to point out that you specifically talked about that you recently had 3 national declarations for disasters. And I want to enter into the record a unanimous consent. Trump moves to abolish FEMA, shift disaster response to states.
Without objection.
And my
Forward.
final unanimous consent I'd ask says that Mike Johnson's budget plan is at risk of collapse, even though we know that y'all control all 3 levers of government. So if this is what y'all want to do, then go ahead and clean it up and fix it and just go through the process. And honestly, there's nothing that we will be able to say about it.
Order.
And with that, I will yield.
Okay. Without.
Now put that in your pipe and smoke it. Baby.
That's the first time I've heard order.
He was over there crying, talking about, and the Democrats are running amok. Who running amok now, baby? Who running amok now? Got the Republicans. Oh, what do you call them? The Repubs. Got the Repubs in a tiff. Come on, Miss Jasmine. Now, again, I have my own reasons for, not being, she's not my favorite. However, I do appreciate that. And this is what we're here to do. We want to hear both sides passionately and fact-based. You can have passion without being emotional. Okay? So we're here for it. Let's hear the response. And then this lady she was talking to over here, it said honorable or honor. So I'm assuming that's a judge. I'm assuming.
All right. Thank you. Gentleladies, time's expired. Chair recognizes Ms. Boebert from Colorado.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The outrage here has been absolutely unhinged, as we've seen in the media. We're seeing Politico, who's
Who's unhinged?
Yeah, hold on real quick. She said a king and his queen, and I'll let you decide who is who.
No.
Oh boy, that's what she said, Coco. I'll let y'all decide who's the king and who's the queen. Okay. Yeah, she keeping it. She's shaking the table. She does. She does. Who cares? Now switch. Oh gosh, I can't, y'all. This is what I'm here for.
laying folks off, and as they're being defunded of American tax dollars, they can no longer sustain themselves. And so the outrage is just going to continue from those who are no longer going to be able to support their businesses from American taxpayers. And we simply want accountability. We want oversight. This is the Oversight Committee. And unfortunately, Congress has done a crap job of oversight and accountability over quite some time, I would say decades. And that is why we have this new commission that is created, and Americans are grateful for it. President Trump campaigned on having this DOJ commission to have oversight and accountability, and it is our responsibility to codify what happens. I am pleased with the expedited efforts that have taken place to really get this out in the open and expose to the American people what their money is actually being sent to. And let's just be honest with the American people. Unelected bureaucrats have been funneling their hard-earned taxpayer dollars to ridiculous and even malicious causes. DOJ is doing the hard work to uncover the truth and make our government work for the people rather than funding policies that are actively hurting them. For example, Dr. Rush, in your testimony, you state that the recommendations from the Department of Government Efficiency will exacerbate public health crises. How is that the case when DOJ is advocating to defund EcoHealth Alliance, which was involved in the research in the Wuhan lab that created coronavirus, that created this global pandemic that killed people and ended the livelihoods of many others?
My statement was in reference to across-the-board firings without specific.
I think government employees have been given the option. They can have an.
And those that will be given the option will be more competitive on a private market basis than those that stay. So then you'll be losing your best public employees.
Were our best public employees at the Wuhan lab of virology? Were those our best employees? Was that where our funding was going, to the best and the brightest who started a global
when
pandemic?
You make a 20% across the cut without any
I think there's been a lot of inefficiencies, and I'm excited to see where this goes and the exposure of that. And Dr. Resch, the last administration weaponized NGOs to aid and abet illegal aliens across and within the interior of the United States. We saw millions of taxpayer dollars being funneled to NGOs that were spent on plane and bus tickets, hotel rooms, and even to coach illegal aliens on how to illegally stay in the country. Heck, we have a congresswoman who is currently coaching illegal aliens on how to stay in the country, what terms to use, even if they are untruthful. Now, Dr. Resch, how does transporting millions of unvetted illegal aliens into our country make America safer? And how does stopping the funding of those NGOs harm America?
That is tangential and irrelevant to my.
Oh, it is not irrelevant. Let's go through the list of relevancy, shall we? When we have open borders allowing millions of illegal aliens coming into our country unvetted, then the relevancy is in terms of Laken Riley, Jocelyn Nungary, Rachel Morin, Ruby Garcia, Elizabeth Medina, and I could go on and on and on and on with the American citizens who were killed at the hands of illegal aliens. So I think it's pretty relevant to say we need to look into these NGOs and what they are doing with these unvetted illegal aliens coming into our country and remaining into our country. Would you agree? Does that bring some relevancy to the topic, sir?
Not to workforce cuts across the American public service.
Well, but we're also talking about the funding that is going out. We are cutting spending at an executive level. And I hope that we codify all of that here within these chambers to ensure that it doesn't go out again. Now, in your testimony, you also mentioned that DOGE proposals reflect an agenda to dismantle professional government. According to you, this is fundamentally at odds with the principles of democratic governance. In November, President Trump won by a decisive mandate promising to maximize governmental efficiency and productivity. And how are actions, these actions fulfilling the president's campaign promises fundamentally at odds with the principles of democratic governance? And while my time is running out, I want you to answer that, sir. But we hear about unelected folks. Democrats didn't even get a chance to vote for their own presidential candidate in their primary. So don't talk to me about unelected people actually being involved in the decisions in this country. But I would like to hear how that's at odds, sir.
I have no response to that.
Well, that's kind of
Chairman, the general lady.
I yield.
I
Thank
am
you.
hollering. Now he said I ain't got no response. Yeah. I know Dr. Rush better quit playing with me.
Because she asking the doctor about immigration. I would have because she started off with COVID vaccines. I would have understand if she said she was like non-vetted. I would have used the word non-vaxxed. Okay, doctor, how do you feel about that? How do you feel about these non-vax coming in? Because this is another thing. I don't want to get too crazy. People were let go from their jobs for not getting the vaccine, only to turn around and to have immigrants rush in without this vaccine. Were they getting vaxxed before they came in? Because we do have some government department or government employees that couldn't return back to their job without the vaccine. Correct. So I think that would have been a little more appropriate. She was all over the place.
She was, and I usually like Bobart, but she was a little here, there, everywhere. I guess she was trying to utilize her time efficiently. But I think, if I'm not mistaken, if you were fired or let go of your job because you refused to get the vaccine, there is a lawsuit. Yeah,
for back pay.
Yeah.
However, a little too late, right? Like the immigrants already came in. The vaccine, we're finding out, didn't even work. Too little, too late. Let me hit 504 real quick. NGO stands for non-government organization. NGOs are nonprofit organizations that operate independently of government control. They are often involved in advocacy, humanitarian work, and social issues. Wait. Kylie says, yesterday it was mentioned waste on animal testing has been going on since the 70s.
And old buddy who got flustered, right? He made a very good point. He said it is 2025 and we are just now auditing what the government spends. That's not a red flag to no one. And if this is and they're losing their shit over it, the coin could be the other way around, right? Because I'm non-biased. I know I've got called liberal, I've gotten called Trump, I've gotten all these other things. I am truly non-biased. It is truly F both sides in my point of view. So this wouldn't matter if this was Kamala as president and she had done hired someone else to do these things and the Republicans were up in arms. I would still be spewing the same rhetoric. It would be, what do you have to hide? Because if you haven't been audited and basically your whole political career, what are you afraid is about to come out to the American people? That they cannot fully trust you, which is one of the things our Constitution told us. You do not go underneath a federal government.
Come on.
Because you cannot trust that they will have your best interest. They will just steal from you. They will not give to you. They will steal from you.
Because our founding fathers were fleeing a monarchy.
Correct.
So they knew what time it was. They knew. Okay. Hold on real quick. I was going to say something. Oh, yeah. Right here, Coco. She was trying to outdo Crockett. Oh, that's what it was. That's what it was.
She was. with Bober. She's like, let me do this.
She's like, oh, we're allowed to get sassy. Let's get sassy.
Let's get sassy.
And I'm with you, Kylie. I saw that earlier. Hold on. Let me go back to your original comment right here, Kylie. You said, I think the undertones of Doge implies that Republicans are fixing what Dems messed up and not including themselves as a part of the problem when clearly decades include both sides.
That's a word right there.
Both sides, people. This is not a Democrat or Republican fucking problem. This is a government problem.
Amen. Come on, co-host. Tell them in the back.
Okay. And it's also a compliance problem from us.
Yeah.
Well, I like this, and we want to argue with each other. You're Democrat, you're Republican, you're this, you're that. We like fuck that. Okay? You pay taxes, I fuck with you. How about that? We in the same boat. You pay taxes, I fuck with you. Oh, you do advocacy work, I fuck with you. How about that? Okay? But they shaking the table. Let's get back to a little bit more, y'all, and then I gotta go make me something to eat. And I want to power wash because it's nice outside right now. I want to power wash my patio. So, okay, we'll let this ride for a little bit more. This is good, y'all. This is really good. And I take back this information. I don't know if y'all do it. Well, I know me and Godmomma, Kylie, Nikki, probably you too. Take this back and really marinate on it. And really marinate on it. And then not necessarily apply it, but just see how, you know what I mean? You start doing something, you're like, oh yeah, this is what they talking about. You go to spend this. Oh, this is what they talking about. You get deductions for this. This is what they talking about. So,
I was going around telling people yesterday, like, listen, I know congressional hearings and I know committees and all of that can be a real snooze fest, but I guarantee you it's more entertaining than you think. Because you're going to find out all your country's tea in a matter of hours. You just got to be willing to sit there and listen to it.
Oh, Coco's with us. She said she was digging. And Coco, you came through today. Because that's going to be that's going to be in my little when I want to lay down in bed and my mind's wandering, I'm going to be picking up the phone and being like, let me dig deeper into this cat situation. So I appreciate y'all. I love y'all. Thank y'all for being concerned citizens with us. Okay. It takes two, baby. It takes two, metaphorically speaking.
Now recognize Mr. Kassar. We're going to recognize Mr. Kassar, then Mr. Jordan, and then at the request of the witnesses, we're going to take a brief bathroom break. So Chair recognizes Mr. Kassar for 5 minutes, and then after him, it'll be Jordan, and then a brief 10-minute break.
Chairman, I don't know.
I'm sorry, I was on mute. What I said when I paused it the first time, I said, let these two people talk. And when the committee takes their bathroom break, that's where we'll close the show. And I will send this link in the chat so you guys can go back and listen to it and scroll through at your leisure. We'll let these final two people talk and then we'll close the show out. Thank y'all for being here.
Why Republican members even show up to this committee or to Congress when it's clear who's really in charge of the federal government right now. And that's Elon Musk. And at the beginning of this hearing, when we asked our Republican colleagues if we could bring Mr. Musk to this committee, Republicans ran cover for him. They want him hiding in the White House, tweeting, and they voted unanimously that they didn't want to hear from Elon Musk. Supposedly, this committee is supposed to be about rooting out waste, fraud, and abuse. And I agree. So let's talk about waste, fraud, and abuse. The biggest fraud in U.S. government right now is Elon Musk pretending to care about efficiency when what he cares about is taking your taxpayer dollars, taking your Medicare, taking your Medicaid, taking your Social Security, and enriching himself and his billionaire buddies with it. The biggest abuse in the U.S. government right now is Elon Musk getting $154 billion richer since the election just a few months ago, while consolidating unprecedented power over your money and your government. Mr. Musk invested $227 million in Trump's election and is making billions off of it. That's waste. That's fraud. That's abuse. And speaking of waste, another waste is my House Republican colleagues showing up because they waste their time. They won't speak out about any of these abuses against working people and taxpayers. This is the Oversight Committee, and there are 17 independent inspectors general. They are watchdogs. They are the oversight arm of the federal government. And Trump and Musk illegally fired 17 of them, including a watchdog that was investigating one of Musk's companies. And what I've heard from House Republicans is either silence or defending that kind of behavior. You guys know that it's embarrassing and it's wrong. And that's why you voted to not have Musk here before us. Elon Musk is not doing anything to make government more efficient for working people. He's using his position to more efficiently raid your taxpayer dollars to enrich himself and his friends. I'm told that this hearing is about right-sizing government. So I propose that we start right-sizing our federal government by firing the most dangerous man in it, and that's Elon Musk. To protect our taxpayers, we should fire Elon Musk. To keep American Social Security numbers private, fire Elon Musk. To protect Medicare and Medicaid, fire Elon Musk. To save schools and our jobs, fire Elon Musk. And to protect the idea that American people have a government for the people and by the people, and not for the ultra rich and by the ultra rich, we must fire Elon Musk. Attacking working families is nothing new for him. Mr. Musk's biggest factory sits in my district. And the first thing I did after I was elected to Congress was to call for an OSHA investigation into the injuries and deaths of workers building that very factory. Those were investigations to be launched by the Department of Labor, where later today, we're hearing that Musk's minions are going to go and maybe start shutting down parts of that key agency that is built to oversee big corporations and defend the interests of workers. Musk's companies like Tesla have been sued and found liable for many labor violations. Screwing over working people is just part of the game for him. He has been found liable for improperly giving not safety training to construction workers and withholding wages. OSHA fined Tesla for exposing workers to hazardous chemicals without proper training and monitoring. OSHA opened up investigation into deaths of workers at a Tesla Gigafactory in 2024. SpaceX, another one of Musk's companies, was found responsible for the deaths of one of their workers, Lonnie LeBlanc, due to head trauma that he got on the job. So now Musk has seemingly unlimited power to take advantage not just of his own employees, not just of American consumers, but of all Americans. Unlimited power to Americans' data. Unlimited power to choke off funding meant for Americans and the programs that people count on. Enough is enough. But thankfully, our country isn't one of Musk's companies. Our country is ours. A billionaire whose career is built on the abuse and exploitation of workers should not have unlimited power in this country. He should be before this committee. And when he comes before this committee, if somebody wants to do the right thing, all you got to do is turn on your mic and say, fire Elon Musk. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I yield back.
Gentleman yields back. Before I recognize Mr. Jordan, Ms. Boebert, did you have a
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I have a document I'd like to submit for the record.
proceed?
So this is a press release from the White House at USAID. Waste and abuse runs deep, and just some examples: $2.5 million for electric vehicles in Vietnam, $47,000 for a transgender opera in Colombia, $32,000 for transgender comic books in Peru, $2 million for sex changes and LGBT activism in Guatemala. $6 million to fund tourism in Egypt. And these are just some of the many, many examples. And I would like to submit that to the record.
Without objection.
Thank you.
So ordered. Chair now recognizes the chairman of the House Judiciary Committee
I'm
for 5
hollering.
minutes.
Thank you, Chairman. Mr. They're getting fancy, ain't they? They're getting spicy.
The transgender orchestra. Well, hot damn.
I was going to say something, but let me know. I can play a flute. I bet you can.
Shots, is the federal government too big?
Yes, the expenditures certainly are, which makes the entity itself too
$7
big.
trillion in annual spending, 400 agencies and sub-agencies, 1,000 boards and commissions. I think anyone, maybe even the people on the other side of the aisle, I think anyone would say, almost everyone would say, that's too big. And when you have big government, does big government have a tendency to spend taxpayer money on stupid things?
That's part of the reason that we're here, and it's one of the things that Citizens Against Government Waste has been documenting for many, many years.
You've been highlighting this for like 100 years. I mean, I've known you for a long time.
Organization,
God bless you for persisting.
Organization, 41 years. I've been there 39.
And when you spend money, when you're the person spending money on something stupid, you just assume, you would just kind of hope that people don't really notice that, right? If you're in the government and you're spending, what did Miss Bober just say? 32,000 for a transgender comic in Peru, 16 million in gender development office. You're spending money on stuff like that. You just kind of hope that people probably don't notice that. Is that probably fair to say? That's kind of human nature, I would think.
Well, that's part of the problem, is that the taxpayers don't know exactly how the money is being spent because there is not the transparency that, for example, Iowa, Ohio, Arizona, and other states have. And we should be able to push a button and find out how your tax dollars are being.
And so it's understandable why everyone on the left, all the proponents of big government, all the supporters of big government, all the people getting the taxpayer money from big government, it's understandable why they are attacking Elon Musk, because he's pointing out the stupid things that government spends money on. Is that fair to say?
Well, he's not making it up. And in fact, many of the recommendations he's making.
Great point. He's not making it up. He's citing every single thing.
Right.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, it's there. I mean, look, the Department of Education has been something that was recommended by President Reagan to be eliminated, and many others since then. U.S. Digital Service, U.S. Doge Service. Digital Service was duplicating the private sector. Same with 18F at GSA. So he's already helped save money by doing that.
So Democrats, instead of saying, yeah, we should probably not spend $32,000 for a transgender comic in Peru. Yeah, it's probably not a wise expenditure of taxpayer money to have Sesame Street played in Baghdad, Iraq. It's on all that list. Instead of saying we should figure out how we stop that, they're saying, no. We got to stop the guy who's pointing out the stupid things that government's spending money, taxpayer money, the money that people in the 4th district that I represent, their money on these kind of stupid things. Now it's being reported that there's something even maybe worse going on. It's been reported today that media outlets were paid millions of dollars by USAID. Now, the media outlets are saying this is for subscriptions to their publication, but I find that interesting. And one of the particulars that's pointed out, the FDA paid Politico $517,000 for 37 subscriptions. That seems kind of high to me. Does that seem that way to you, Mr. Schatz?
Doing the math quickly, that seems excessive, yes.
Yeah, that seems a lot for now. Maybe there's some explanation here. Maybe maybe Politico is so darn important that it costs that much and taxpayer money should be spent for. But I find that interesting, particularly $517,000 for 37 subscriptions when it's the press, the government paying the press. Does that in some way maybe jeopardize what the press, the free press that we're supposed to have in our great country?
Oh,
well, it's certainly something that taxpayers probably didn't know until today. I didn't know that.
Didn't know until today. And it's also government paying the press that kind of money. 37 subscriptions will give you $500,000. Might Politico write favorable things about the particular administration who's paying that money? I don't know. I'm not saying that happened, but you can sure look at some of the things that's been reported by some of the press, particularly Politico, and you can't help but ask that question. Governor Reynolds, I got like 50 seconds. You came all the way from the great state of Iowa. I'll give you a chance to comment on any of the things I raised there. But I do think this is amazing. The guy who's pointing out the stupid things the government spends money on, that's who gets attacked versus, no, let's fix the stupid things and not spend money on them. I just don't get that. And I think the American people have common sense, and that's how they look at it. My guess is, I know lots of good people in Iowa, they have lots of common sense. That's probably how they look at it.
That's exactly how they look at it. $36 trillion in debt, $2 trillion annually being added to the debt. Kevin and I have 11 grandchildren. I want them to have the same opportunity I did growing up. And I appreciate President Trump trying to right size the ship and get it back in line. And I don't hear any answers to the contrary. What are their answers except for leave everything the way it is? And that's not working. So thank you.
That's not what you did, Iowa. You didn't leave everything the way it is, and you changed things. And taxpayers got more efficient government, which is exactly what we want. I yield back. Thank you.
Gentleman yields back. Pursuant to the previous order, the committee will recess for 5 minutes to accommodate.
Way to break before you then whatever they about to do. Child. Use the bathroom because I've been asking that for close to 3 hours now. Like, what is it the issue? And I know Kylie said, she made a comment saying it's that the issue is that it seems like Musk is just doing whatever he wants and he's not having the approval of the president first. But we weren't in the room with him, just like you're not in the room with me when I get a job offer, right? That could have been their understanding that you ain't got to run it by me, or he may even run it by him. It's just we don't see that. But again, it's like, are we mad at the person or the issues? And I'm more mad at the issues than I am at the person. Because we shouldn't be just dumping this money into stupid things.
Just transparency helps, because then we know. Oh, you're shoving marbles up cats' butts because you're trying to do some spinal cord testing. Is there not a better way to do that? Again, I'm not a doctor, right? I'm not a scientist. I'm just a regular citizen. But the transparency helps us understand why you're doing it, why this money is needed. Aunt T brought up something earlier in the chat saying, well, Americans can't handle that because we've been dumbed down. Child, please. I'll be putting my kids on fucking game. They might not grasp the you know what I mean, the ones and the twos of it, but they grasp the what is it called when you have what's that scientific term, cause and causation or whatever it's called, right?
Cause and effect,
right?
With every action there's an equal or opposite reaction.
Bada bing, bada boom. So I just feel like there's room for improvement across the board. And I feel like transparency, again, I had this conversation the other night about how much I'm an open book and other people aren't, right? I think when we're dealing with the government, it should be an open freaking book. Now, if you're a private company, let the government handle you. If you're misusing funds and you're a private corporation, that's why we have government auditors and IRS. Now, if you're a government entity, oh no, baby, your shit needs to be open and it needs to be transparent to the point that it's understandable. Don't hit me with this legal jargon, corporate jargon. Don't, okay? At least layman's terms. When you go to a doctor, he says, well, I'm going to diagnose you with and you go, doctor, what is that? He breaks it down in layman's terms for your ass. The government needs to do the same. That's just my opinion. Y'all. So we've been here 3 hours today, and I appreciate y'all. Y'all been rocking with us today. Legalese is hard, bro. Exactly. I didn't go today. I didn't. Uh-oh. Godmomma's turning up the music on us. Godmomma? Oh, okay. There she go. I mean, break it down for us. I tell Godmomma this all the time, and it's nothing to be proud of. But break it down to me like I'm 5 years old. You know what I mean? And I've said this before as well. If you are an expert in your field, you will be able to break it down. You'll be able to break it down in damn near sign language or braille at that point. Like, shit. If you're not getting it with 1 + 1, then give me your hand. Let me show you. Let me demonstrate. So that's my point of view. Ooh, this was a good one, Godmomma.
This was good.
This was a good one. And y'all, I did check. They have not started the live on the welfare overseas yet. It's it hasn't started yet. So that's something I'll put a thing on. And we might be able to get to that tomorrow if the RFK, the Tulsi, and the Cash Patel goes quickly. Maybe we'll get into some examining the growth of welfare. That's what the oversight committee is doing right now. Again, it's not live yet, so I think they're probably at lunch and then they'll come back here in a little bit. There's also protest in DC. You guys can also go to Twitter. I link that in the chat, and on a shout out to Queen Sister 504. I will come back. I couldn't do it while we were live, but once this ends and it registers up, I will be throwing links in the description for y'all. And maybe that's something I can work better on, is putting descriptions up for the video references for you guys. Thank y'all for coming through. We had 504 was in the building today. Okay. See, Wilson came through. Hey, mama. Coco, we love you, baby. Thank you for coming through. Thank you for your support. I don't know if you caught the beginning of the show. When we ended the show, we weren't able to give all the shout outs appropriately due, but we appreciate you for supporting us, for being here, and for your commentary in the chat. And thank you for your research, Coco. Thank you for that, because that really, it kind of slowed down the aggression I had about marbles and cats. So I appreciate that. Will Intensive came through today. Hey, Will, you've been so good about coming through. Dougie Fresh, Dougie Spears was in the building. Stacy, Stacy, I love chatting with you over there at Auntie's. And speaking of chat with her at Auntie's, Auntie was in the building. He was laying it down, letting us know democracy. Okay. And always Nikki Crayons coming through. Salute to y'all. Thank y'all for being here. What a wonderful, oh, look at Will. There you go. Hey, Will. Will, I've been fucking with Will for some years, so he's got a little favoritism over here on my end. Thank y'all for being here. Even if the committee members said his position was to advise and not act, which one is it if we're seeking transparency? Okay. Which one is it? Is he a hired employee or an advisor? Okay. I mean, which you could be both, but we'll see. So, all right, y'all. Oh, and Salt came through. That's right. That's right. I'm sorry. Shout out to our other co-host, Salt. Thank you, 504.
Don't forget the middle brother now, child. Well, he have a tantrum.
I forgot Salt did come through, and he's back, baby. He's back.
He's back and in full swing. Okay. In full swing.
I love
But
Salt.
thank you all so much for hanging out with us on this fine Tuesday brunch hour. I hope you all continue to go throughout your day being grateful and blessed. Okay. And don't let these people rain on your parade. Okay.
Don't. And don't be shy to speak, speak for yourself and think for yourself. If somebody tell you something, it ain't sitting right, shit, go look it up.
Go look it up.
Go look it up. You have a good day too. Thank y'all for being here. We'll be back tomorrow with RFK, Tulsi, blah, blah, blah. And if not, we'll be examining the growth of welfare. Y'all be easy. Peace.
Peace. Shout out to the replay gang.